That would be kind of cool. Or you have your stuff set up the way you want and you kill an enemy and you can take the plates out of his rig.
That's like Call of Duty.
Wait, but that's also how it works.
But it's also like real life.
Yeah, that's also how it works. I did a video with Brownells about the plates, and we held up a bunch of them. They look like that. That's not a video like.
And it's Call of Duty.
Yeah, man. Whatever. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast, the show dedicated to talking about all the poggers things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I'm one of your co-hosts, JesseKazam.
And I just had a bloody nose.
Unfortunate.
And that's all taken care of.
All good to go. What's up, man? How you doing?
Dude, I mean, I've been playing Magic and just watching from afar,
vibing.
like the Michael Jackson gif, eating the popcorn.
Yeah.
Seeing what's going on in Tarkov land.
Boy, hasn't this entire wipe just been... Sorry, that's my AC beeping. Hasn't this entire wipe just been like the most whiplash, the highest highs and the lowest lows of all
Emotional
time?
roller coaster.
Of all time. Like Streets releasing when your video ended up in that patch and this podcast that we're about to break down are three of some of the biggest deals in Tarkov's history as far as positive things, like positive changes. And then like the GOAT and that whole controversy, how bad the audio and performance was the weeks after launch, the invisibility bug, like dude, it's been whiplash, dude. Emotional whiplash. It's been insane.
And I feel like someone just said in chat net negative. And I was trying to think, and it was like, I kind of feel like that's true in that like all of the positive is like potential.
Yeah, for sure. I would say as it stands right now, it's probably a net negative. You know, the copium, the hope is that a year from now we reflect and go, it would end up being net positive. But yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Did you catch wind of Axel's stream a little bit ago?
I don't really know anything about that other than somebody in chat mentioned something, and I pulled up Axel's tweet, I think. So all I know is like Axel tweeted something to the effect of, "I exposed a cheater and they're threatening to sue me." I don't, if there's more context in that, I don't know what it is.
So he was on stream earlier today showing some of the clips. Now I tweeted out
of a specific streamer that he thought was cheating.
Yeah,
like that's what he was doing. Okay.
And I tweeted out earlier in the week, which maybe we can talk a little bit about before we get into the podcast stuff. But I basically said, I'm seeking honest, level-headed feedback.
Yeah.
Hypothetical scenario where I was very confident a fellow partner Tarkov streamer was cheating. Would a fair and honest analysis of their gameplay, with all reasonable caveats and disclaimers, be irresponsible? I'm genuinely torn. And that tweet got 300,000
impressions.
Engagement. Yeah. And I said additional consideration that's relevant. Imagine they've previously competed in money events or could do so again in the future, because I think that's, you know, people are like, who cares, man? It's a video game. Well, actually, I mean, it's some people's livelihoods.
For sure.
And money's involved, and it's not like to say it's a video game and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, now I ultimately got talked out of it. Not talked out of it because I wasn't really necessarily considering.
You got what you wanted, which was like level-headed responses that made you think a different way. And you were like, you know what? My decision is this. Like, I'll not do it.
Yeah, and out of all of the responses I got, there was 320 responses. I would say 97% of them were like, "Yeah, man, fucking do it."
Yeah.
And then it was the noteworthy ones were three of my most like respected internet friends.
Yeah.
One of my buddies who is like my contact at YouTube, actually, that we've met with and talked to before. And Munition.
Yep.
And Markstrom. And they were all like basically saying, no, the negatives outweigh whatever benefit you're going to get.
Yeah.
It's just like not worth it. And yeah, they had good takes,
Yeah.
and I would tended to agree with them. Now, over the last couple of weeks, I've been having a few different people sending me a few different links to clips
Yeah,
and VODs
because
and
anytime
whatever
you
of a
open
few
that
different
can
people.
of worms, people go, well, I know a streamer who's cheating, and I'm sure they send you a bunch of DMs.
Yeah, and yeah, I'll say that, like, what I will say is if I was somebody who ran like Tarkov tournaments, I would probably be like putting that on pause or something for some time, if knowing what I know,
Yeah.
because it's been like 3 for 3 of the last people that I've looked into that I've been like, oh yeah, I know, I'm fairly certain that they're cheating.
Yeah.
And now it's one of those things that people like, nobody is actually ever going to understand
Yeah.
why I think that
Yeah.
unless I go and do the thing, unless I
Yeah.
make a video where I break everything
Yeah.
down.
The nuances of you understand what desync looks like, you understand that the Tarkovness of it all, and yet, you know what I mean? Like all the nuance that you know is hard to explain.
Yeah, historically, when people think other people are cheating, I would say the most common ways are when people think like someone else they fought is cheating. It has to do with in-game stuff, whether
Yeah.
it's their how fast they reacted, you know,
Yeah.
whether they could have heard them or what. Throw all that stuff out the window.
Yeah.
That stuff to me only gets you like 80%
Yeah.
of the way there.
Yeah.
Which is to me not
Yeah.
remotely.
And never gets you close enough to call somebody out. You know
No,
what I
it
mean?
would get 80%, 75+% is enough to hit the report suspicious
For sure.
player button.
For sure. Absolutely.
But and then the other one is when people watch streamers and they see the streamers are always looking over to the side as if,
Yeah,
streamers
yeah.
don't have multiple monitors or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's like proof, right? Now there's some validity that can be said about, like, sometimes the chat's on the left and they're looking to the right.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
But it's never the people that anybody says. It's not Landmark. It's
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not Willers. It's like none of those people. But like, I had that interview with the
Yeah.
on stream. I didn't post a video of it, but the streamer, who's a small streamer,
Yeah.
that ended up like Summit reaction video
Yeah,
that
yeah.
got, a ton of views or whatever. But that was one of the cases where I'm like, I'm 98% sure based on me watching their gameplay from their perspective on their stream.
Yeah.
And so in those situations previously, I've been 3 for 3 in terms of being 98% sure and then having them admit it to me privately.
Yeah.
And then now I have another 2 or 3 that
Or
are
in
also
that
in that
same
same
realm
boat.
of like, I'm as
Yeah.
positive as I can be.
One of them is not, it's not like a noteworthy person that most people have ever heard of, although they have 5-digit followers and they're partnered.
Yeah.
That's one that I am fairly certain of. And then there's another one, that the one Axel was referring to, that has like 800 followers or something. Not an incredibly noteworthy person, but
Yeah.
both of these people have been involved in competitions.
Yeah.
Where there's money involved and prizes, and now whether they
Yeah.
cheated in the competitions or not is a different story. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But like the kinds of things I'm talking about are, and I don't know, have you seen? I might have sent you 1 or 2 clips.
Yeah.
The one that Axel is going to be talking about. I won't even say the name because I can't pronounce it. It's like I'm not even going to say. But you ever shoot the revolver that has the scope mount?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know which one that
The
is.
RSH. Yeah.
So if you put like a vortex on that,
Yep.
and you aim down sights and you shoot it, how would you describe the recoil?
Oh, it's huge. There's a ton of recoil.
Okay. Now, what about if you have like a vortex scope on a G28?
Yeah.
How would you describe the recoil?
I mean, less. Yeah. much
But
less.
there's still like recoil.
There's still on all the DMRs and stuff like that. There's absolutely still recoil. The RSH is insane, but the G28s and everything, like what was I using? The 308 MDR even feels like I don't even want to use it anymore. It feels like there's too much recoil on semi-auto mode. It's just like crazy.
So in a bunch of clips you can see there's differences between different days and even different raids on the same VOD. Now, also let me caveat that almost all of the VODs that we've been looking at, they've been deleted.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not suspicious or anything, right? Like if someone thought I was cheating, I would be like, go through all my shit.
Yeah, let's pull them up together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
By all means, go ahead and analyze it. I'd be happy for you to accuse me of cheating because I'll make a video and I'll eviscerate whatever you have to say because it's just going to be wrong.
Yep.
Now, what you see in some of those clips, there's one of them that's like on interchange where he's scoped in, like, I don't remember if he was double or single scoped in with the vortex on the fucking RSH. And it's like he shoots it and all you see is the scope go down as he goes to like reload. It's like bang. But then there's another clip of him doing the same thing on interchange and he shoots it and it's like you see
the ceiling.
You see the top of the fucking scope, right?
Because
it's like, and then there's another one with the G28, which is like the big DMR, right?
Yeah.
On labs where he's actually like strafing and someone's shooting at him. And it's actually even hard to tell. I didn't realize he shot like 3 bullets, but the gun just didn't move. So he's basically using no recoil
Which is
cheats.
insane, yeah.
Another one was using the MP7. Now the MP7 doesn't have a ton of recoil.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't have no recoil.
For sure.
This was like no movement. Not like an initial jump and then he controlled it. It was just it didn't move.
Because I use the MP7 enough to know the recoil impulse of that, and it absolutely jumps in the first few shots, even with subsonics.
Yep. And not to mention, it's got all of the other things you put together in the fact that, like, when you see someone who's high level, they have a ton of money, somehow they're always getting out of raids with a shit ton of juicy loot, and then you watch them, and it looks like it looks like my gameplay when I was 12 playing Halo on my Xbox.
Yeah.
It's just the most awkward movement, the most awkward, and he just always knows exactly where people are, lines up the things.
Consistency is huge. That's what, when we were talking about the guy that was cheating on me and Valiant, he had the GL. It was like he couldn't kill a scav to save his life, but he always pre-fired the GL rounds exactly where PMCs were. You know what I mean? It's like the consistency is insane. Apparently that guy ended up getting banned, which is dope. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy. I feel like we're at that point where like Tarkov is a big enough game that in that realm, in that like small content creator space of people trying to break out and make a name for themselves and be really, really good. You know what I mean? It's like, and unfortunately there's some bad apples in there. That's
and
crazy,
I mean, you look at someone like Landmark, like he blew up because
he was nuts
of how good he was.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like there's a lot of, it's a lot of right place, right time and different opportunities. But there are a lot of people that, that are just as good, if not better than Landmark that haven't blown up because they didn't have the right place, right time,
Yeah.
So I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, man, it's like,
that's rough.
But what you watch it and you can see, and the reason why it's not 100% is because there's the 2% about the 2% in cases like that are there's some Tarkov fuckery going on. Either they have an intentional exploit, like, if you pull out your gun and then you hit shift and then you hit tab and then you whatever, well then all of a sudden you have no recoil. Like it's a possibility that it's just similar to the the thing where you could free look while you're aimed and it would like keep your FOV. Similar to that, right? It could be something like that.
And there is an exploit in the game right now where you can like you can adjust your key. I actually don't know how to do it, but you can adjust your keybinds in a way where you can do the old school pre-inertia peaks. the jiggles, the really, really quick ones. Like that's the kind of stuff that falls under maybe there's some shenanigans that's broken. Like something is broken here. Maybe it's some sort of exploit of the game, or maybe the guy's cheating, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, ultimately I decided I'm not going to make anything. I'm not going to do any content here. Because the 2% chance that there's some alternate explanation, even though I'm as confident as I reasonably could be. Yeah. It's just not worth the potential risk. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Axel's. Yeah, he said he's dropping a vid tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean the guy said a bunch of stuff. He has no fucking leg to stand on.
Yeah, what? Like, I bet that was the best message Axel ever got. You know what I mean? Because he gets to, like, not in a bad way, in a good way, farm that clout of, like, this guy's gonna sue me. Like, of course he's not gonna have a leg to stand on there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So yeah, we'll see. Something to, like, the sad part is that, you know, all the people that talked me out of it are like, you're gonna ruin your reputation because you have a chance of being wrong. And it's like, all right, I'm not gonna do it. And then someone else is gonna do it, and they're gonna blow up, and they're not gonna ruin their reputation, and it's gonna be like, nice guys finish last, man. There's so many cases where I could just fucking do the thing that is a little risky, but, you know.
I'll definitely be interested. To see what his video is. But yeah, man. Well, I don't know. I just freaking. We died. I had such a wholesome moment, dude. I was on streets. I was playing solo. This dude rolled up to me. We like held the same angle at the same exact time, and he like joked over VoIP. He was like, "Oh, we had the same idea," and I was like, "Yeah." And so we ended up being friends. We went we teamed up. We played the rest of the raid. We looted up a bunch of stuff. And then at the end, he was like, you wanna link up? Like, you wanna do another raid? I was like, dude, let's do it. So like he sent me friend request, and then he sent me his Discord handle, and I sent him mine, JesseKazam, and he was like, no shot. Like, it was this sick. And so I pulled him into a Discord call, and we ran another raid. It was like this such awesome, like, wholesome moment. And we're running into streets. He's like, yo, someone's running into Check 15, the building. So we run in, and this mofo, completely naked dude, T-posing, starts calling out our kits and our names and kills us both with M61. And we were like, God dang it, bro. Like, it just ruined this such, like, awesome, wholesome interaction, multi-raid streak that we were on. And the dude was just like, oh, dude, it sucked. So, yeah, I don't know.
Dude, one of the messages I got after my tweet, I tried. Okay, I tried. Where the fuck is it? Like, I got so many messages. Oh my god, it's like literally buried. The dude was like, "Yo, I've been cheating for like X amount of time. If you want to tell me who they are, I can like shadow them and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Bruh. Yeah, okay. What's your in-game name?" I'm like,
yes.
But he didn't.
Damn, bro.
I was like, I had to try.
You have to, bro. You have to. They were stupid enough to cheat.
What's your name, man? What's your name? I couldn't get there,
dude.
I try,
bro. People are so stupid. Yeah. Well, that'll be interesting to see what happens there. In other Tarkov news, we got this devcast. What do you know? Have you seen it? Have you just been hearing things from chat? We're going to go over everything, obviously. Okay. Just to walk it all through the podcast. But you've watched it. Okay. That was interesting.
Yep.
I definitely felt like, you know what I mean? So I think a lot of people are, go figure, misunderstanding my opinion. LOL. You know what I mean? But like, I'm not saying everything they said is going to happen, and I'm not saying everything they said is going to happen in the time frame they said it was going to happen in, but my take on that podcast was it was the best podcast we've ever received because it felt like it was a different level of transparency from them. Like every other time, as far as I can remember, any other time anyone's ever brought up like desync, the response has been, yeah, we know, we're working on it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the extent of it. So for them to spend a literal hour of the podcast specifically talking about the back end technical things they're doing to make these changes to the things that are actually plaguing the game, does that mean I think blatantly trust them that it's going to be perfect and it's going to happen in the time frame? No. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like that type of copium. It's like, can we at least acknowledge and appreciate a step in the right direction? That, like, it's one of those things where I just like hate it. Talking about L's is super fun, but like intentionally not addressing W's just because there's another hot take L to take, that's when I start to get frustrated, because it's like, if they had done this podcast and not talked about this stuff, we would all, you and me including, been like, these podcasts are fun, but it's stupid because they never talk about the things that are actually important to the game. So if they spend an hour talking about the things that are actually important to the game and I say, that's good, I'm not some dick riding copium addict. I'm like, this is like what we've said we've wanted for years. Like, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean that I think it's just Nikita's gonna be able to snap his fingers and it's gonna be perfect, but at least they're freaking talking about it. You know what I mean? At least we're pointed in the right direction. We'll see if we can land the plane, but we're pointed at the right airport, in my opinion. That was my take on the thing as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think there's a number of ways, you can take it and respond to it. Like, you can either be like, yeah, never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Or you can say, oh my God, they're going to fix everything. It's the greatest thing ever. Where I'm at is, and I think you're like pretty on the optimistic side of like in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm on like the middle.
Yeah.
Of the middle where
just a little bit the opposite
like,
way. Yeah.
It's a good thing. What they said is a good thing. I'll be excited and happy when they do it.
For sure.
It's the way I am with vacations, dude. I don't know if something happened when I was a kid where like a Disney vacation got canceled, but I'm not excited until until they let me into fucking Disney.
Yeah.
And I walk through the gate and it's like, now it has begun. Because at any point there might be a fucking chemical bomb. The plane might not take off. I might get, bronchitis, like anything. I don't want to get excited for the thing unless it's here.
For sure. I get that. And that's the thing, is like those people that have come into my chat, I'm like, I totally get it. I totally respect it. Like, you're absolutely right. I'm middle and I lean optimistic because I've just always been that way. Always. Something's like broken in my brain in a good way that I'm just like, okay, if I will, like, I'm the opposite. I will get super hyped for something as a kid, super hyped for something. And it'll be like, oh man, like, I'm sorry, this came up, we can't do it. I'm like, okay. Even though I was like, I just like, whatever. I don't care. Like, it's just like, if it's something that's out of my control and it's done, like, dude, it's always how I've been with like huge, major life events that I was super excited for, that it's like, oh, we couldn't get that house. I was like, okay. It takes me like 5 minutes to get over it. And then I'm done. Like, so I've always leaned more into the optimism of just like, this could be great. You know what I mean? So like, but when people come in and they're like, oh yeah, I mean, it was like, yeah, it was good that they talked about this stuff, but I'll believe it when I see it. I'm like, hell yeah, that's fine. Like, I totally get that. You know what I mean? But when exactly, it's either side. It's the extremes. When people come in and they're like, dude, yeah, just like freaking, the game's been developed for 10 years, man, and they've said they were going to fix stuff forever. It's not going to happen. I was like, dude, this is exactly what we've said we've wanted for multiple years. You know what I mean? Like, for them to at least talk about this kind of stuff. It's just I don't know how to word it. It's just like, if you're going to criticize something, then you have to be prepared for that criticism to be resolved. So if somebody criticizes BSG doesn't ever fix things, if that's their main criticism, and then BSG talks about fixing things, I can understand how that person isn't impressed by that. Because like what you're talking about but the criticism from so many for so long has been specifically, they never talk about the things that are important to the game.
Yeah.
So that, if you're that person, and then you're criticizing the podcast where they spent 2 hours talking about the actual important things, that's where I'm like, you're dumb. If you've never criticized that, if you're just like, I've never cared what they said on a podcast, I just want them to fix the game, and you're like, yeah, all this is big talk, I can understand that. But it's just, it feels like it's the moving goalpost to me. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not trying to say it's going to be perfect. All I've been like, I feel like I feel like I have to defend a small thing so much that it becomes a big thing because the small thing is getting attacked. And it's like, all I ever said was like, dude, that was a good podcast. Like, I'm glad they're talking about stuff. People are like, what about this? What about this? And I'm like, well, this. And then somebody comes in and they're like, Jesse, why is it such a big deal? This. And I'm like, it's not a big deal. That was the point from the beginning. It was just my opinion was attacked so many times. Now I'm heated and it seems like a big deal, but it wasn't. All I was saying was that like, I'm glad they're talking about this stuff. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's so weird.
I mean, the way that like you have to look at it, the way that everybody needs to look at it is like, if you see any negative,
yeah,
if you see the negatives in like what they said in the podcast, it's almost like the people see the podcast and if they were here, they're here now.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you're saying that if they didn't have the podcast and they didn't say any of those things, that would have been better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I just don't buy it.
And
like,
and this, I mean, somebody commented like BSG has earned the negativity. Honestly, like that's just such a fundamental difference on how I view the world. Like people just like
they've earned the skepticism and the pessimism, but not the negativity.
Exactly. It's like, and that might seem like semantics to you, but like to me, I just like. I look at the world that if there's something wrong, I want it to be better. And I feel like we're losing that completely. Like there's no, like, I feel like the genuine desire from people is just to call out bad behavior, not to rectify it. And maybe it's because I'm a father that I think differently, where it's like, when my son does something bad, I'm not elated to be like, you suck. Oh, you are the worst. I hate you. What I desire is for that behavior to change in a positive way. And it feels like that's where we are culturally in a lot of ways, where it's like, people are just like, oh, you've added to the negativity bank. I get to spend this negativity money I earned anywhere I want. And BSG could like literally fix the netcode, deposit 10 billion rubles. And it's like, well, I've got all this extra negativity and you earned it. And I don't see the world that way, where I was like, call me a BSG shill in the comments, please. I spent the last 8 episodes, 2 hours of the podcast, like reaming BSG for all the stuff they did wrong. But I want the game to be better. So when they do something that's better, I'm not like, I get to spend some negativity dollars. I'm like, sweet. And so it's just such a weirdly fundamental, they're just bank it up just so they can live in their negativity money. And I'm just like, I just don't get it. That's not how I view the world. I want things to be better. So if things get better, I can acknowledge that they were bad and that these people were stupid or ignorant for it being bad. I'm not saying BSG is stupid or ignorant, but I can acknowledge that the bad thing came from a bad place, but it's better now. And I just man, that comment, I'm not trying to dog you, whoever said that, but I feel like that embodies it. Well, they earned it. I've got some extra. And it's like, yeah, they've definitely earned skepticism and pessimism but just, they haven't earned hate. Nobody's earned just like vitriolic hate for no reason. I don't know.
Dude, we got to maybe after the Tarkov stuff, because I have a content related idea that I wanted to actually potential collab on the first episode of what something I'm thinking about that has to do with what you said. The whole people want to call out like the doing something bad versus rectifying it.
Yeah.
Like so I'm gonna try to. I marked it down on a sheet in case we'll maybe remember. But honestly, throughout the whole podcast, there was one thing. And I'm sure we still will go through a bunch of stuff, but there was really only one thing that I kind of like rolled my eyes at, and it was the whole what they focused on for a while, which is we're gonna get the performance up to 60 players on a server.
Yeah.
And he wasn't like focusing on streets. Like it sounds like he wants to increase the players on like all over the place.
I have some thoughts about that. Baseless speculation, very much so.
Okay.
But I have some thoughts.
Are you gonna say open world?
Open world. No, but yes. You know what I mean? We'll get there. I'm interested. So we can kind of go through it. Some of this stuff will fly by because it's like stuff we've heard a million times. So some of it's very interesting. So like they started the podcast off with that teaser, the like trailer for like dynamic loot. They never.
Oh yeah, that was the only other thing that was kind of like.
It was super weird. I don't know if it was them kind of like subtly jabbing YouTubers and the sensationalization of every little bit of information that we're gonna make some crazy video about it, which I did. So if they did, I guess they're laughing at me. So, or if it was just like a funny,
take it to the bank.
yeah, or if it was just like a funny joke, you know what I mean? I don't know. It was interesting. Or if it was actually trying to show the like relationship between like they might post a tweet or post a video about an event, and then we all go into the game excited for the event, and the event is dynamic. Like maybe that, I don't know. But it was this concept of like taking dynamic loot to a whole nother level, where the actual containers that loot are in also move throughout the map. I don't have strong opinions either way. I would love the looting in this game to be much less static, of just like complete autopilot, blare music, look here, 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 extract, here, 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 extract, here. So, you know what I mean? Does that mean I necessarily think like the containers need to move around? I don't know. But so I don't really have a neutral on it.
It depends on how it's implemented.
Yeah.
Because if, like, what they showed us was the box on top of the awning on Customs dorms is no longer there. Now, if what they showed us is, if what that means is a lot of the containers that we've seen before might not be there, what the only thing I can take away from that is there might just be less loot.
Yeah.
And if that's the case,
that would be less
the feature's
fun.
fucking stupid.
Yeah, that would be less fun.
I just don't like,
because there's already so much RNG on like I'm looking for this item or I need this item for a quest, so I'm looting stashes or I'm looting stuff, and it's like if it's just I already have a bunch of RNG to find an item and now there's just less containers to proc the RNG, then it's
now
like
it's the only farming that you could do. Now they've removed that, and we've talked about how I feel about like farming and
exactly.
But yes, there's a world in which there's more loot in the existing containers that they keep. There's a world in which now they add 3 times as many containers and they move all over the place.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Or there's a world
when
in which
I saw that, all I was thinking was like, if now some of the boxes aren't there, that's fucking terrible.
If it's just less loot, that would be one of the most tone deaf changes of all time. Yeah. But we don't know, and so like it was obviously intentionally vague. And so I'm not gonna judge the feature. I definitely agree though. If the feature is sometimes there's less loot, that's a bad feature. If the feature is anything else, if it's sometimes there's less loot here but there's more loot here, or sometimes the loot container, like maybe it just moved, it's in a different room, it's there still but it's just different, so you have to open up more doors and search, spend more time in raid, maybe more organic PvP happens. There's a lot. But yeah, I definitely agree that it was like it was vague. It was initially left vague. They talked about this like boom, boom, boom several times through the podcast. So I just kind of clumped it up together. But they mentioned several times that the focus of the dev team is sound optimization and networking. They hit on that a lot. Sound optimization, networking. Multiple times he said we have so many people working on sound optimization and networking. So that is huge, because everything we have said forever has been, no matter what features come to the game, no matter open world, no matter 100 player servers, no matter if the game is balanced, if the weapons are balanced, if the recoil works, at the end of the day, if you can't trust what you can hear and you can't trust what you can see, it's not fun. You know what I mean? Like, you can balance the game perfectly, but if you can't trust what you can hear and you can't trust what you can see. So sound optimizations and networking. He didn't touch on a lot, but he did touch a little bit on like anti-cheat, and he was talking about how like there was new battle line modules and new stuff. And then he said, I don't remember exactly where he said this, if he was talking about Unity 2021, if he was talking about the technical update, if he was talking about when they rewrote the code, but he said something to the effect of it's going to be a nightmare for the cheat developers to make the cheats after we make this change. Like, he was like pointing to this specific change. That's interesting. You know what I mean? Like,
that could just be the Windows. Well, never mind.
It could be the Windows thing, or just like we've talked before about like how a lot of the cheats in Tarkov come in the form of like what information is on the server, what information is on the client. Like, I definitely don't know a lot about that, but we talked with Goat about that, and you and me have talked about that. And you talked with other people about how like there's so much more information being sent back and forth than's necessary. Then there's a lot of places that they can kind of inject their shenanigans. And so maybe they're just like, as a part of this, they're just making it more server authoritative or closing a lot of those loopholes. Maybe
there's also a chance in which the dynamic loot, maybe they refactored some of the code, and maybe now the containers will not have the items until you open them.
Stuff like that we've wanted for a long time.
Right now, one of the biggest problems with the cheats is that all the clients know where every other player is. They have all the like relevant fucking character information about what they're carrying, even some of their like profile, stats. But then also they know where all of the loot is.
Yeah, all the loot is predetermined.
Yeah.
So,
and one of the things we talked about is if more of the loot was in containers, rather than just out all over the place, and if the containers, because you already have to search anyway.
Yeah.
So if they made it so
there's time for the server to then roll the dice and then put something in there. Yeah.
I mean, not even necessarily roll the dice. The server can generate all of that stuff.
Oh, but just
all at the beginning. Just not give it to the people until they hey, this user is opening container X.
Okay. That's super interesting. Yeah. So, stuff like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. Once again, I'm not putting I'm not putting a whole bunch of stock in like Nikita said there's a big anti-cheat thing and there won't be any cheaters after that. This definitely falls in the realm of exactly what we've talked about as well, where it's like everybody hates cheaters, but the only thing people love to hate more than cheaters is BSG's ineptitude at dealing with cheaters. So much so that they would rather BSG not deal with cheaters so that they could continue to rag on BSG. Anytime they talk about and I get it, once again, I'm not saying that when BSG says they're working on the anti-cheat, you should say, they're finally fixing it. But I'm just saying it's like, don't go so far into the realm of like preferring that they don't just so you can hate on them. LOL. They talked about Unity 2021 being a big thing, that they're a big thing. And he said that Unity 2021, obviously we've heard this before, we've heard this with every engine upgrade, that Unity 2021 is going to be able to allow them to do a lot of optimizations, resolve some memory leak stuff, do new graphics, new lighting, which it's not that I don't believe. I definitely believe that those tools will be at their disposal. And, we've talked before about how like Unity 2021 is the Unity version that's, I think it's the most recent. Like I think the most recent Unity 2021 or Unity engine is 2021 dot something. Like I don't know if they're going to that build, but and it has long-term support. So that's exciting, and hopefully they can do some things with that. But at this point, they hadn't really talked about like specific things, and that was when they started talking about the like specifically talking about some huge technical updates to the game. So they talked about that they're basically completely redoing the network infrastructure, and there's like almost like a new netcode, which is supposed to, he talked about reducing desync, increasing positional accuracy and hit reg and all sorts of stuff. So it's hard because I don't know anything about any of this. I don't know any of the technical jargon. I don't know. So it's like hard to know, how much faith to put in it. But once again, the netcode and the desync has been the bane of this game's existence forever, and it's only gotten worse. So that was interesting. I don't know what he means by like, I don't have his verbatim words, but I'm just interested as what they mean is like new netcode, if they've reworked it. I don't know if it's all just custom code that they write that tells the stuff. I don't know if it's like it's a Unity related thing. I don't know.
Probably a little bit of both.
But
like I'm sure there's networking. Like I know Unity is like known for having like networking issues.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that an older version of Unity would be better than a newer version of Unity when it comes to. So I mean, presumably there's probably like newer, better, more efficient APIs that they can hook into at like the engine level, but also there's probably like 85% BSG and 15% Unity. It's just I'm kind of sort of throwing that out there as like a general, like instinct, but yeah.
And my gut says that a part of it is them rewriting what we just talked about, like, or rewriting or reassessing what information is given to what client at what time, where the server authority is. I would imagine that with what they've learned over the past few years, specifically over the past several years of the game being very popular and the desync being very bad and the cheating being very blatant, I'm hoping that a big part of that is, basically like tightening up the ship and, optimizing, I guess, would be a good word. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like the way you have to look at like networking, it's similar to like tuning a race car.
Yeah.
Or any of those things where it's like any given request to get information, to send information, you can like really fucking spend all the time to cut all the fat, the meat off the bone, and really optimize it, and you're going to be getting like a millisecond of improvement, right?
Yeah.
It's like so trivial, but then consider that you do 1,000 requests every second, 20 second, like, so all of those things really add up. When you kind of half-ass everything you do for 7 years, that's when you end up with like everything is sluggish.
Yeah.
And it's because like, why is our race car so much slower than everybody else? Well, because our seats aren't carbon fiber. They've got like fucking fabric on them. Yeah. And the steering wheel has wood, and you've got the dice hanging from the mirrors. Yeah. And, like everything is got all the extra shit on it. Yeah. Whereas everybody else has the fucking skeletonized,
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. That would also explain how, like I was talking with Valiant about this too. Like, I feel like the desync has gotten worse over the years. You know what I mean? Like, and that could be part of that. Part of that, I'm sure, is just like the community embracing a much more aggressive play style, which exacerbates the issue. But I just don't. And maybe it's just rose-colored glasses. But I just don't remember like these clips from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago of deaths where like it was completely behind a wall, where there was like nobody on your screen whatsoever, or you died like 2 or 3 full tunk steps behind cover.
When you did, they stood out as like, wow, something was bad with that server.
Yeah,
it wasn't just Tarkov. You know?
And so now it's like it feels like it's gotten worse. Once again, that could be just like me looking at it, not objectively, but it feels like it's gotten worse. So that would kind of explain it though, because as the game's gotten bigger and they've had to do more hot fixes and more patches and patch up the netcode to handle more players and more this, it makes sense that if all those little steps weren't optimized, then we add a little bit of desync here, a millisecond, a half a millisecond, and then you get to a place where it's like a while, you know what I mean? A pretty big. So once again, hopeful that, you know what I mean, that the networking adjustments, whatever it is, them rewriting it, but then also the Unity stuff, that would just be tremendously valuable to the game. No more features, no nothing. Better netcode, better that kind of stuff would be tremendously valuable. He talked a few different times, because chat hounded him down about like that they have the ability to have up to 60 entities, 60 players on a map or more. He was like maybe more, like we just made up 60. And then like everyone in chat was like, 16? You mean 16? And he was like, no, 60. And then he was like, he really like doubled and tripled down on it. He was like, you don't have to believe me. He was like, we've already tested it. He's like, it's something we've done. It's not something we're trying to do. So he was like, he was like, you'll see, you know what I mean? So he did say, he specifically mentioned Streets as like, Streets is a location that we definitely want to have a bunch. He didn't say Streets is the only location we want to have a bunch. People in chat did mention like 60 PMCs on Factory, and he like made a joke about it. He was like, yeah, 60 PMCs on Factory. But like, he definitely didn't go into a lot of detail about like what that means and the implications for that.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have I talked about how like I think that the current PMC count is like too high?
Yes.
on pretty much every map other than Streets.
Yeah. 30 PMCs on customs would be a nightmare. It would be awful. Like
it'd be garbage.
And that's half of what he's talking about. You know what I mean? So
unless you could hit 2 buttons after you die
and
then wait 30 seconds and be back into a raid.
Yeah.
But given the current situation now, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Because, like, once again, you go back to the old fucking Tarkov vibe, the old feeling, the OG, whether it was because there was less people playing the game or less people in raid or whatever, there was a lot more. You're walking around, it's quiet.
Yeah.
You know, it's like desolate. And every now and then you look off in the distance and you see a fucking squad of 3 men running. And you're like, oh shit, you know, here we go. It's not, you spawn in, instantly hear a million gunfights. And, you know, like think about why we hate spawn fights, why we hate exfil campers, like all of those things, all the things that we hate about Tarkov would just be made worse by having more people.
So here's my thought. Once again, chat. Baseless speculation. I'm trying to find a good picture. I can't really. Here's my thought. Open world, I hate to admit it to myself, but I think open world is a flavor, you know, one flavor too deep on the copium. I don't even know if I can hope for that anymore. You know what I mean? But we have to take other information that they talked about in this podcast, because sometimes it's dangerous to reference what they talk about in this podcast to what they've talked about in a podcast like 3 years ago. Sometimes that's dangerous because like a lot has happened, right?
Yeah.
But if we reference other things he talked about in this podcast, okay, he said that Streets is currently 1/3 the size of Streets, of the final Streets. 1/3 the size of the final Streets. I believe that Streets is about on par for the biggest map we have right now as far as like kilometers wide and kilometers tall. I think it's like almost as big as Shoreline, which is I think the biggest map, kilometers wide, kilometers tall. Maybe it's I don't know. It's big. Streets is a big map. So what I'm thinking is that if he's saying in this podcast that Streets is 1/3, and then that's also a good point. There's a tremendous amount more entities and things on Streets right now. Floors, rooms, locked rooms, scavs, loot. Building, extracts. Like there's a lot more stuff. Fires, random stuff. And he talked again, which we'll get to, about the BTR, which the taxi, that's going to be like a server load. So like when we talk about like server load, Streets, I would say is like the most stressful map. And it's 1/3 the size. So I am making this up, but it stands to reason that if, as of last week, Nikita says, we will have a map in the game, Streets of Tarkov, 3 times the size of Streets, the final Streets, and it will work, and we can fit 60 players on it. I don't know that we can hope for an open world, but I think that we could have 3 maps. One is Shoreline, Lighthouse, and Reserve. And one is Woods, Customs, Factory, Interchange, and Streets. And all of those have access to a separately instanced world, which is the labs. And does that make sense? So it's like,
Isn't under Factory, isn't Labs supposed to be like in the red blinking light? I don't know if this is like totally apocryphal, but like
Factory,
I vaguely recall that underground factory door being somewhere towards Labs. I mean, I'm probably way wrong.
So like they've said that Factory gives access to Labs. So that's what's weird is that like
it's like sewers.
Yeah,
or wait, there is the sewers.
Exactly. Yeah. So Labs, they're kind of like doing the hand wavy stuff because we know for sure that Nikita has said on podcast, Labs is accessible by Streets and specifically by Factory. So I don't know if they're just doing the hand wavy. I don't know if Labs is going to get an expansion, or I don't know if it's the sewers. To me, what makes the most sense is Labs is the map that you get a loading screen. You go into Factory and then you go in and you get a little loading screen and then you end up at Labs. That makes more sense to me than them adding like crazy long tunnel systems that you have to traverse. But what makes sense to me is if they can get Streets of Tarkov running at triple the size with 65 players on a map, I don't see how they couldn't get Shoreline and Lighthouse and Reserve to stitch it together, because so much of these maps are just like open fields. Stitch it together.
Same thing.
Now you put 60 players on Lighthouse, Shoreline, and Reserve, maybe with some extra wooded areas between. Now we're talking. Woods, Customs, and because Factory's in the middle of Customs, you can like see Factory from Customs. Woods, Customs, Factory, and you can see Interchange from Customs, from certain parts on Customs as well. Like Gigabeef did, by the way, Gigabeef did an amazing video talking about like a future of open world Tarkov. And the amount of maps you can see already from other maps, like you can like see streets from a bunch of maps. You can see like interchange from a map. You can see woods you can see customs. You can see factory. Like it's crazy. So that's Jesse's copium fueled adventure there, is that like if they get the proof of concept done and they get streets that size, and I feel like that would really like, that would suffice. If we had 3 giant maps that all had, 60 plus players, I could get down with that. That would be sick.
I mean, the only thing that comes to mind though is that like, what else has to change for that to be relevant?
Yeah.
Because right now, my issue is not, wow, there's not enough to do here.
Yeah.
It's the in-raid experience sucks.
For sure.
And most of the time, I don't even make it across.
For sure.
I don't even make it out of my fucking spawn, let alone across customs, let alone across customs, shoreline, woods, factory. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I agree.
So, once again, if they have loot exfills and they have,
yes,
I
totally agree with that.
And like, but even then, it's like the number of players on any given map, and then when I say map, I mean, in this case, it would be these big conglomerate maps, right? The number of players they have, where they spawn, and ultimately how likely you are to run into people where, like the timing of all of that stuff, that's what's the most relevant, right? Because there's a world in which the number of players ends up being less. You're less likely to run into PvP. You're less likely to run into spawn fights.
You would.
But if they triple, like, if there's 10 people on, 12 people on woods, 10 people on customs, and all of a sudden now there's 50 people for the combined, well, then now the game is just fucking worse.
Yeah.
It's just infinitely worse. You know what I mean?
I completely agree. Basically, my theory there was only a way to justify this desire for 60 players on any map other than streets, and because I think that would be awesome. However, you would definitely need other things like loot exfills, right? Because like the game, like if you're a solo, not even if you're a solo, because if you're a duo right now and you loot one building and kill another duo, you're overweight and you want to leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yep. So it's like if you do that at your spawn and you're on woods and your extract is on interchange, you're like, damn, you know what I mean?
So if you're lucky, your in-raid time, your in-raid time is nothing.
Yeah. So loot exfills, I think, so yeah, if they want, and this is what I find interesting, is that all of these questions apply to streets. Because once again, if streets is the biggest map we have right now and they want to triple the size, even if you write off Jesse's idea as like Fantasyland copium, the reality is, based on a podcast that happened 4 days ago, we will, in Escape from Tarkov, have a map 3 times the size of any of the maps we have right now, and on that map will be 60 players. So these questions, I want to assume they have a plan to answer them. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be the same thing. It's just not going to be you're on woods and you're on interchange and your extraction's on interchange. It's just going to be you spawn check 15 and your extract's on suburbs. You know what I mean? Like, so it's going to be the same thing. So I definitely agree, and they did not go through that plan on what that would look like. Maybe the train and the BTR taxi have a part of that, because they've talked about both of those things at length before, about how the train is like a really important part of the Tarkov lore, and the BTR taxi is going to take you around streets. He specifically said on this podcast we could do a whole podcast about the BTR taxi on streets. Maybe that will be part of like the loot exfil. What if, that'd be interesting, is like, what if there was like the loot exfil was moving, and it was like, and you could like run into it and like go up and drop your loot and have him take it out or whatever. Anyways, so the questions are definitely like loot exfils, and then also, I don't see how they would do it any other way than like how the cycle does it, where you have streets running for 3 hours or 4 hours at a time. I know that poses a lot more questions than answers, but so does the idea of having a map 3 times the size, right? The same questions get posed either way, because you're exactly right. If there's 60 players on streets, and in the first 10 minutes, 30 of them are dead, what are you gonna do with 22 players on a map triple the size of streets, right? Like you're just like, how long?
And the people that are dead accounted for half of them, and then the remaining survivors have more. They haven't looted fucking 2% of the map, and they're full and have to leave. Right?
So how long does a raid timer have to be in order for a map size to be that high? You know what I mean? So it's like that's kind of what I'm saying is that like the reason why I can dream about like them stitching some of the other maps together is because all of these questions still demands to be answered. Because you know what I mean? Where it's like, yeah, you know. Oh, you can't do it like the Cycle Frontier because they can't have servers up for 3 hours. But it's like, but if they triple the size of the map, the raid timer is going to have to increase because it's going to be 3 times as big. Like, how are you going to make it across? Like,
oh yeah, they have to. I mean, obviously they have to.
So it's like the raid timer is already 50 minutes. If not you, but if like
the raid timers are shorter than they have ever been.
Yeah. And the raid timer is already 50 minutes. So that's kind of what I'm saying is that like I'm like maybe they have to do it like the cycle and the servers are like 3 hours and people are like, no way, that's ridiculous. And it's like, well, it's an hour now and they want to triple the size of it. So if it goes to 2 hours, it's like it's not that far away. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I'm saying is that like any criticism of like, Jesse, that's stupid. They would never stitch together Shoreline and Interchange. And I was like, why? Because X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, those X, Y, and Z have to be answered before they triple the size of streets. So
to me, the biggest thing, to me, the most critical part of all of this, ignore fucking performance, ignore everything. I feel like the number of players per square foot average needs to be like half of what it is now.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, what's most people, like the average person's average raid time? It's probably like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like, if most people, if the average survival rate is what, I'm going to guess maybe like 35%, you know, something like that. Yeah. It's just, most of the time, it's a dog shit experience for everybody who dies and everybody who lives.
Yeah.
I don't see how adding more space, more stuff to do when nobody's ever run out of things to do.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever been like, I ran through customs, I looted everything, and I killed everyone. And
it's only been 6 minutes. Like,
yeah, there's not enough time and there's not enough loot on this map. Said no one ever.
Yeah.
So like, I just don't understand. Like, it's just fundamentally, there's so much has to change that I don't see. And I'm not saying it's not possible. But it's like, there's a part of me that is worried that they haven't thought that far.
Yeah, I'm definitely worried about that too.
Because it's like there's a world in which they think about all these cool things and whatever, but like you can think that far ahead without ever actually thinking, okay, imagine you do all that and then imagine you're playing. What's it like? Nobody thinks about what's it like.
Yeah.
They just think it's going to be cooler if there's bigger and there's more. But it's like, yeah, but what happens when you're full in 5 minutes and everybody in the raid is either dead or leaves right away? Well, actually, I mean, now let me think about it. It's possible that then means the raid experience for the remaining people is like a lot slower. But again, here's the thing, like you need loot exfils.
You have to.
Because when you have I mean,
you just like know what nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to loot streets with, let's take a big bag and attack 2. Nobody wants to loot a map triple the size of streets. You can fill that attack 2 in 4 minutes of looting. No, what nobody's desire as far as like a gameplay perspective is to spend 58 more minutes just being like, well, this is worth more than this, so I'll drop this and take this. Well, this is worth more than this, so I'll drop this and take this. Like, you can fill an attack 2 in 3 minutes. Like, if you on the map, you want to get more stuff. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to just like run around and min-max for an hour and a half. So there has to be some thought into like exactly like, what is the desire of the raid? Because if it's loot, there needs to be changes made to the game to justify
to increase the survival time of any given person.
Exactly.
Because right now the biggest obstacle to people spending time in raids is there being alive in raids.
Yeah.
because when they die, get sent back to their stash.
Yeah.
Then that takes like a million years. But again, it's like, yeah. I mean, now maybe, I mean, imagine a world where you have Streets is 3 times the size, and there's 60 players, and 80% of the containers that are in Streets right now aren't there or don't have loot because of dynamic loot, and then half of the players die right away. So there's only 30 players now on Streets on 3 times the size of the map now,
with half as much loot.
With like a fifth of as much loot. Well, then now you're gonna go through a building, and you're gonna look. Oh, filing cabinets. There's no filing cabinet there. There's no box there. Going to the next. So then maybe it ends up being a lot more scavengy. Maybe that'll work. Maybe that's cool. Like that might be exactly what we need.
Yeah.
I'm just.
I'm
don't
with
know
you.
that they know. I don't know that they know what we're working towards and what the experience is going to be like.
They do. I hope there's a plan, because he seemed really confident that. I mean, he just seemed really confident in what they've wanted to do with Streets and how big they've wanted Streets to be. And so I can't remember. I think somebody in chat asked. I think they had talked about loot extracts before. Like, I think it had been a suggestion that had been brought up that they've talked about before. But I don't know. I really like. Yeah, I agree where it's like, there has to be reason. There has to be a loop. There has to be a change to the loop, because we get looted too fast, we get heavy too fast, and we die too fast to want to play a map triple the size with a raid timer that's 2.5 hours. We just, you know what I mean? It's just like, it would, if not, like, I guess suffice it to say, I'm not going to say they don't have a plan. I'm not going to say they do have a plan, but suffice it to say, it would be a less fun map to do what we do now, spawn in, within the first 5 minutes, get into a fight, get that PMC's loot, be heavy, and just have to run 3 times as far to your extract. That would just be less fun. If that's the only change, is you spawn in, you get into a fight, you loot a building, now you've got some treasure items, you've got some extra heals, you've got that guy's kit, and you're overweight. If now you just have to run 3 times as far to the extract, no one would play that map, because they would just play the maps where the loop matched the size. You know what I mean?
So devil's advocate to what I was saying before. Imagine a world where because of the size of the map and the way that they do spawns and the way they do loot and the way that they could do player counts.
Yeah.
There's a world in which they do all that, to where, imagine you spawn in, let's say you're solo, you spawn in on Streets and you walk around and you have to look for 10 minutes to find like the bolts or the bandages or whatever. Like half of the shit is just empty.
Yeah.
So this is a world in which, like, it's a different economy. Everything is different, where, don't think about the prices or the rarity of all of the things that we have now. Like, everything could change. Yeah. Or, like, you're really wandering around, and because of how sparse everything is, including the player count, is a lot more. You're exploring, you're killing a lot more AI, maybe.
Yeah.
Kill the AI, maybe get in a fight with a few of the bots or the scav boss or whatever. Have time to loot the AI. And you're really going from building to building to building to building. And it might take, if you were in an offline raid with no players, to fill your backpack might take 30 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
And if maybe you come across 1 or 2 PMCs in a raid, like, it would be the equivalent of like a dead customs raid now. Yeah. And then imagine the netcode is good and the performance is good and the weapon handling is good. Now we're kind of talking about a lot closer to like the dream game that we want.
Yeah.
But again, it's really not far on that knife edge, from that knife edge for being like, well, now it's just fucking garbage.
Boring and
you
not
spawn
fun.
In, you spawn in, you die, whatever. Yeah. So I don't know.
But even like, I agree.
Either way.
I agree with what you're saying, where like there's a universe where that's fun. I think that would be like a rapid change from what the community has come to expect from Tarkov. So I think that direction would get a lot of resistance, but that doesn't mean inherently that direction is sad or is bad. But I think the thing we're saying is that, like, in order for a map 3 times the size to be fun, you have to go one of those directions. Like, you have to change what we have. Like, that's what you're saying. You either need to reduce the loot so that the loop does change, so you can't loot your bag in 30 seconds. That the spawns are so that you're not going to immediately get into a fight and be overweight. You either have to slow it down, or you have to not speed it up, but you have to give me a reason to stay. All I want is to stay in raids longer. That's all any of us want. You know what I mean? Like,
imagine if you played for 5 hours and you had a good day and you never left a raid.
Yeah, exactly. Or you did 2 raids. You know what I mean? Like, that is absolutely the dream, spending time in the game. But if they want, like, but they have to give us a reason to spend time in the game. You know what I mean? Imagine a world where there's, like, this is like a lot of, I'm taking a lot of thread here, but, like, imagine a world where there's, like, a lot of this stuff where, like, there's a bunch of PMCs, but the spawns are so that you're not going to get into a fight immediately. There's loot exfils on the map, and maybe they're hard to get to, or they're in, like, hard to reach spots. So it's not like you can just, like, kill a guy and then dump loot and then kill a guy and dump loot. Like, you have to make those decisions. Now, imagine also that there are some of these in-raid missions, like you and me had talked, like DMZ style, like in-raid missions that provide exclusive rewards or, like, a lot of XP or something like that. And then, then we're in a realm where, like, you got to give us a reason to stay in the raid. I want to farm up XP. I want to find items. Another big thing is, like, we can still buy too many things from the traders. Why should I not extract with this loot and sell it? Why would I be in this raid? What am I looking for? Am I looking for a TX50? I can buy a TX50. Am I looking for a mutant? I can buy a mutant. What am I looking for? But if the amount of stuff we could buy from the traders was reduced by half or less, you could still buy basic meds and some guns and some armors. But, like, if you want to find...
And on the flea market was reduced too because of the availability in raid.
Exactly. If you want a Gen 4, you got to find that junk. You know what I mean? So if there's a reason to stay in the raid, if there's a reason, like, if there's ways to get extra XP by, wanting to be in the raid, wanting to complete some missions, dailies and weeklies, wanting to do... Then that's a universe where it's the other way, where you don't necessarily have to slow it down too much, but it's like... You've just, like, give me a reason to be in the raid, give me a goal. So maybe I'm not looting filing cabinets unless I'm really looking for something specific, because I know over here I can go over here and do this thing, and that's the goal that I came into this raid with. Another big thing is, like, the in-raid traders. They've said that before, like, that gives that's a whole cluster that I don't necessarily want to go into on, like, there's a lot of stuff there, but they've said that over and over and over and over again, that they want the traders. They've showed us models of proper and therapists. You know what I mean? So, like, that's a part of it, right? Like, if I needed to go to Lighthouse to buy a thing or turn it in or do a thing, you know what I mean? And then maybe there's some sort of reason to be in the raid longer than just 5 minutes. You know what I mean? I don't know. So,
yeah, man.
So I agree with everything you've said. I would love. Basically, what I'm saying is that if they have a plan for those things and those things, if they have a plan for those things and those things work, I would love for them to clump up the other maps. I guess that's a better way to put it. If they have a plan for streets at 3 times the size and that plan is effective, I would love then on the back end of that for them to clump up the other maps and then just give us that big experience. You know what I mean? And we still have like labs and whatever and stuff like that. So I think that would be sick. But it definitely begs those questions for sure.
Yeah. And that with a bunch of stuff we're going to get to after has me I don't want to say optimistic, but let's just say optimistic. It has me optimistic for the future, but as you know, I haven't been playing Tarkov.
Yeah.
And dog, I gotta say, man, taking the last 2 weeks off of Tarkov, coupled with the last 2 days, me actually fucking stepping foot outside and feeling the 75-degree sunny. I got my first iced coffee of the year.
Yeah,
it's like winter's hot coffee, summer's iced coffee. I gotta tell you, man, my mental health has been so much fucking better. And that's a perfect segue into
love to hear that.
our sponsor for today's episode, BetterHelp.
Yep.
As you guys know, I'm a user of BetterHelp. It's an online mental health platform where they have, counseling, life coaching, all that kinds of stuff. I mean, I'm actually like genuinely looking forward to talking to my therapist on Sunday to be like, yo, this is the first week in a long time where I'm actually like feeling good about things. Just taking a break from the game. Stepping away from it a little bit and whatever. It's so good for the mental and being able to talk about that stuff has just like genuinely, anybody who's been by the stream in the last like 2 weeks can see the change in myself. And a lot of that has to do with just like me talking with my therapist and them being like, give it a try, step away, see what it's like. Cause there's, everybody has different things, right? It might be you're stuck somewhere with your job. It might be you're addicted to a game that isn't great for your mental health. You might be focusing on things in your relationship that have trouble. I mean, there's so many things. That you can get from BetterHelp. So.
It really, it's tremendous how much you can learn about yourself when you're given the opportunity. We've said before, like we've joked about this podcast being therapy because it's been so nice to have somebody to talk to about like Tarkov and just like their struggles or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, of course, that sounds ridiculous, but take that to a macro level and just like apply that to anything in your life. Are you frustrated with your job? Are you frustrated with this? Exactly. Like having somebody to talk to just tremendously expounds your own perspective. And then also these are people who are trained and to be helpful and to ask questions and to get into it. So I have definitely had, experiences. Some people in my family have had experiences with BetterHelp, and I've had experiences with just therapy in general that, like not even be not understating it, like definitely changed the course of my life for the better. So BetterHelp is awesome because it feels like the evolution of that by bringing it to the online space, you being able to find somebody, being able to swap to a different counselor, a different therapist if you didn't vibe with this one, because that's really important, finding somebody that you feel like you can talk to. And so like instead of having to call an office and get to an assistant and then reschedule or cancel, just being able to swap it on the fly, being able to send messages to your therapist just throughout the week and be like, hey, I want to talk about this. Don't let me forget. Or like you mentioned this earlier, I tried this helped. That's really good. So BetterHelp is awesome. It really feels like the evolution of that. And it's great. So it's easy. You can just fill out a questionnaire, get matched with somebody, and then take it from there. Both of us would definitely recommend it. So you can discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Pogcast today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/Pogcast. 10% off your first month. Month. Thank you so much to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode.
Yeah, that's a different sponsor. That's a different sponsor off your first month.
Off your first month.
That's the real quick, dog. That reminds me. I've gone down a rabbit hole on YouTube.
Okay.
Where it's all of the old school like handmade candy. Have you ever watched any of that stuff, dude?
I've seen like TikToks and stuff. Like shorts of it,
where they've got like the sheets of the sugar,
pouring it and like mixing
it up.
there's
this one that I'm sure a lot of people have seen. Their channel is like super viral. It's called Lofty Pursuits.
Okay.
And I broke down.
I bought some candy.
And I bought a bunch of candy like for Easter. And yo, dog, it's so good.
I bet I can't. It's got to be amazing.
It's so good.
It's got to be amazing.
Sorry for that segue. We can get back to Tarkov land. I just was thinking about the munch.
Dude, thinking about the munch. 10% off first munch. So he was talking about the 60 PMCs per map. That they okay. So the next big thing to talk about as far as like huge technical back-end changes is that they talked about munch. Get that munch. That they rewrote the code. It's so funny because after so many years of the meme being fix the code, what we got from Nikita was like, we rewrote a lot of the code. And I'm not saying that we deserved or I expected him to go in detail because that's going to be highly technical. but I just don't necessarily know what he means by that. And it's hard not to want to jump to conclusions because we've said, we talked about the spaghetti code, fix the code has been such a meme. Once again, very excited and elated that they're addressing. He literally said, fixing some of these issues instead of going back and trying to make the old code work over and over again. We just redid a lot of it from the ground up. So it's like, we don't know what code, we don't know how much of the code, but they talked about rewriting a lot of code. He said using a new technology, and a lot of people were like, oh, they're using AI to help like rewrite the code. A lot of people just like came to that. I don't know. So it was weird. We used a new technology to rewrite a lot of the code. It's exciting because we feel like we need that, but nobody knows what that means. And I'm not saying that they should have told us. I'm just saying it's interesting. It's interesting. And I wanted to hear your take on that.
They use ChatGPT and
yeah.
Sorry, I gotta mute this. My wife is flirting with me right now via text message and sorry, got me all red in the face.
Got you flustered.
I had to mute it because I get my messages now through my laptop.
Oh yeah,
because it's like all connected, and then I mute one thing and then another thing dings. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
I've got no idea what.
Because it kind of goes into like what we talked about earlier. It's like, I don't know how much of the networking they wrote versus what's Unity. I don't know if they're going to try and flip that ratio where they're like letting Unity 2021 do a lot of the coding and then they write a lot of less of their own base code. When he says we're rewriting the code, are they rewriting it from the ground up, learning what they've learned over the past few years? Or are they doing something different in the new environment? Obviously, I don't know. I know you don't know those things. Like, these are just like the questions. How many lines of code do you think make up Tarkov? And there's just like, I have no idea. There's so many questions. Like
millions.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million different ways in which you could interpret that, and there's probably like a conglomeration of a lot of different things. I know that historically they've rolled their own solutions for so many things, whether it was sound, networking,
matchmaking,
Now I'm sure that there's probably a bunch of like new things they can hook into to use that might be more performant, might be better, might be more updated. That they can maybe like replace. But I mean, my gut, and I'm sure we'll get a bunch of people in the comments that'll either say confirm or dismiss, but like the way I see it is most of the networking stuff that the engine does, it's going to be the generic high level shit, and then everything else is like Tarkov specific things. So like what's a God almighty, what's a good example? Okay, this is the wildest thing. This is going to be one of the Veritas metaphors that makes no sense, right? But I just pictured, when you go to the bank, there's a little tube. Yep. Back in the day, where you put like the check in the tube and it'll go thump and get sucked up, right? That's like Unity networking, is like between the client and the server. It's like both ends of the tube.
Yeah.
And what you put in the container is like the Tarkov specific stuff. But in this case, it's like, imagine you like hand knit a really large artistic like fucking Afghan, or whatever, and you like roll that up and put it in the tube. God, this is the word. This metaphor makes zero sense, but here you go. It's like a lot of it is that what we get on the other side is a jumbled up mess. It's that they knitted the shit terribly and then shoved it in the thing. Part of it might be they're using an old tube that's like has half of the air pressure, right? So it's like, but I feel like the resulting quality of the thing we get is the Afghan at the end when we open up the capsule. God, this is the word. I can't ever continue. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. Normally I get shit for my metaphors. Normally my metaphors are good. This is terrible. This is dog shit. I don't even know what I'm saying.
God, bro.
I'm just gonna step
away. We gotta
away.
commit, dude. Okay, when we get the Afghan on the other side,
it's
a mess.
It looks like I knit it and not my grandmother.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is like, I think they just they need to delete the fucking Afghans they have on one side and then
Yeah.
make them all over again.
Yeah.
And instead, they shouldn't be Afghans. They should be iPhones with pictures of Afghans.
Yeah. No,
What the fuck is that? What the fuck?
but I get what you're saying, that like when they say they're redoing the code, it's impossible for us to know if they're knitting the Afghans better, if they're sending iPhones instead, if they've restored air pressure to the tube, or if they came up with a whole new delivery service outside of the tube, or a combination of those things. But we won't
they're
know.
Uber Eatsing.
They're Uber Eatsing
in the bank.
Amazon
The
drones.
Afghans. Yeah.
I think that tracks.
I mean, you have to have a master's degree to understand. If you don't,
Yeah.
that's your problem. This is some real big brain shit we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, ultimately, we don't know what that means, but it's cool, and I hope it's good. They've talked about that, you know what I mean? It's just like, once again, this goes back to what we started the podcast with. It's like, I don't know what that means. I'm not inherently saying it's going to be perfect, but we have criticized the spaghetti code for so long. For them to say we're taking everything we've learned over these past 6 years and rewriting a big part of it, I gotta at least hope that's good. You know what I mean? That's where it ends. I hope it's good. I don't know.
A lot of it. Here's the thing, though. I'm sure they've learned a lot. I don't know what their turnover is, but like at software companies that I've ever worked at, usually what you have is 98% of the code was written by people who do not work here anymore.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, yeah, that's all Dave's code. Dave fucked up all of the shit and whatever. And it's like, yeah, we've been dealing with Dave's tech debt for so long, but maybe Dave was smarter than you or whatever. So then now you've got someone else that's going to rewrite it from the ground up. That's maybe they might make a lot of the same mistakes, or they might not realize why something was done. So, I mean, who knows, right?
Damn it, Dave. Okay, so there was redesigning the code, and then they talked and they showed the new culling system and how, as I understand it, it's like not rendering things that the player can't see, and they were able to completely rewrite that culling system. Obviously, they showed that video where they like showed if like how fast if you went through a wall, which you would never do, how quickly the scene rendered in. And they talked about how that could obviously help performance. You know, I don't know.
Think about a big map. You don't want to have 900 buildings rendered in while you're looking. That's why when you look in certain directions, your FPS tanks. Whereas in what you actually want is you're in a building and you look out this way and you want like what's rendered.
Yeah.
You can see through the window, and then everything else is gone. If you're not looking, like object permanence.
Yeah. And they even showed that where like he went through the wall and everything popped in, but he went to the left where there was an open door and there was no pop in. Like you could see out. Like it knew that that was a place where that needed to be pre-rendered if you looked that direction. So so that was interesting. Yeah, so that was very interesting and very easy to see how beneficial that could be for performance, because like you said, it's very easy to just like see the effects of not having that right now. Look north on Lighthouse and you lose 30 frames per second, you know what I mean? So so that's very cool. They talked about how they're already internally testing that on Streets and on Lighthouse, which is great because those are the two maps that we talked about and brought up as that. They also talked about some like level of detail, like LOD testing too, and like the different details of like the skyline in the background on Streets and it not sucking up any additional performance. So yeah, I don't know. Do you think at all, like, the answer is probably no, but I'm ignorant and I don't know anything about software. Like when I saw the culling thing, I was wondering if that at all was related to like some of the anti-cheat stuff, where if less information, kind of like how Valorant does it. Like, I'm not saying that that's exactly what they did, but is that you would have had to engineer the entire game that way, or is that something that they could kind of work in where like
that seems separate?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like the data about where things are is separate from like what is actually rendered.
What's rendered? Okay.
Now maybe again, there's a possibility I'm wrong, but like my gut is telling me like that those are just like different parts of the code.
Yeah.
but for all I know, maybe that's been the problem all along.
Yeah. No,
I
yeah.
don't know.
I don't know. So, ultimately, though, I don't know, man. I just I'm tired of qualifying it. Ultimately, I was really excited about hearing about optimizations, a new engine, the reworking the code, new culling system, increased performance, decreased network errors. Personally, I love theory crafting about the 60 PMCs on the map and stuff like that. So they talked about there's 2 patches in the works right now. One, he said, a lot of people had a hard time understanding this, and I don't even know if I understood the exact right way. What it sounded like to me is that there's a patch coming at the end of April, potentially early May, that is the transition to Unity 2021, and that they had another big patch plan, technical patch planned for the end of May. Timelines, I'm not at all saying anybody should hold their breath for those timelines. What I'm more saying is that what it seemed like was that they're prepping 2 patches for soon TM. One is the transition to Unity 2021, and then one is the first iteration of a lot of these things that they talked about. They said specific. Go ahead.
I was going to say the last time, just keep in mind too, the last time that we had a major engine update, there was an update and it was like nothing really happened.
Yeah.
So don't think that this is like CS2 where all of a sudden it's a different,
which
experience.
is why I think they're staggering it that way, where they want to get to Unity 2021, see if everything works, and roughly 1 month later, because he said end of April, early May, and then end of May, start implementing some of the changes. That they want to give it that time. They don't want to put everything in. I'm kind of making that up, but he said, I literally have the clip up because a lot of people didn't believe me, where he literally said the words, and that's not the only patch we're preparing. In addition to Unity 20, the April, May, we want another patch. He literally said it. So there's 2 patches, and once again, April, May could mean May, and then the May patch could mean June, or July or whatever. And I don't know, everyone's saying wipe. A lot of people are saying, well, they'll wipe if going to Unity 2021. Maybe. The last time we had a huge engine upgrade was a wipe, but I don't know. I just don't know the answers to the questions. I don't think it's time to sound the alarm and go, it's wiping. All I know is that he said they're preparing 2 patches, soon TM, April, May, and May. Don't hold your breath, but that's what he said. That's all I'm doing is relaying what he said. He said that over 50% of the development team is working on these technical patches. So we knew for a long time, a huge part of the team was working on Streets, and now a pretty tremendous amount of their engineers are working on the technical side of things, which once again is good to hear because I don't care about map expansions or anything until we get the stuff working.
So I got to say one thing on this note, because this is actually kind of one of the funnier things. The whole meme, when people have been saying for the longest time, we don't need any more fucking raid series.
Yeah.
Get to work kind of thing. And there's always the response that even I've responded with is yeah, because that's fucking relevant.
Yeah.
And then Nikita went and said that everybody in all of those fucking video series are all developers. That moment was oh, bud.
I kind of thought the same thing.
Oh, fuck. I don't.
Yeah.
I want to be charitable, but kind of at the same time, it's
because it is cool.
Yeah.
In a vacuum, it's awesome that they all made that, and it's so good.
You just wonder,
in a vacuum.
Was it Monday to Wednesday we're going to be filming, and then the rest of the, or is it after on the weekends? Is it? I don't know, right?
I don't know either. Was it on the holiday break?
They're allowed to do that fun team building shit. For all we know, it took them an afternoon. What I know about producing stuff like that is I would assume that would take a fucking long time to get all those shots and to do all that filming. Why is it that they're always struggling for fucking daylight on every film shoot? Because the days go like that when you're trying to, I don't know. So
I
not
thought
saying
the
that it's
same
meaningful,
thing. I can't
but, like,
assume anything. But what we're saying is that it unfortunately lended some credence to that criticism of like, stop making this stuff, just make the game. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, that they're wasting their time or they're doing anything bad, because I love all that stuff and it's cool and it is cool that they work on it. But yeah, I had a similar thought. They talked about their goals, specifically their goals for these patches in the next few months. Making hit registration better, making positional accuracy better, reducing desync, increasing FPS, and optimizing the network. We don't have to dive deep into those, but all I'm saying,
Great
once
things.
again,
I'll love it when it's in the game.
exactly, I'll love it when it's in the game, but at least he didn't lead this podcast saying our goals are to add this gun and add this cosmetic and add this thing. At least we know that their goals are hit reg, positional accuracy, reducing desync, increasing FPS. Awesome. Awesome. I'll believe it when it's in the game. They spent a decent time talking about audio, and I don't really want to spend a decent time talking about audio because it makes me mad.
No, I'm like bolding some of the things that I think are like interesting to talk about. Everything else is kind of just like...
He said it's very expensive from a development perspective, which makes sense, like not money, but like time. They talked about how like letting Oculus do all the occlusion zones, like letting it do that is very performance expensive, and so that they're kind of trying to listen. I don't know.
They showed
that the interchange picture.
They showed the interchange picture, and I almost vomited because there's like 900 fucking boxes, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, just imagine interchange where there's a box for the second floor, a box for the first floor, a box for the basement, and a box for outside.
Yeah.
That would get you like 95% of the way there. And the only things you really have to then account for are like maybe the escalators, like the openings between the floors in that area, which honestly, fuck. Like it was like, it's no wonder shit's so fucked. It's because they made it so in their attempt to be so custom and so cool and so realistic and so whatever. It's like, dog, just don't like keep it simple, stupid. It's no wonder it's a fucking mess. You know what I mean?
So they talk about letting Oculus do its thing. So it's still this blend of them doing some custom stuff and them basically they're trying to keep the performance. The big things for me was they were talking about refining the transition points and blending them. That's of all the features that like Steam Audio promised and Oculus Audio promised, and he even talked about like sound diffraction and geometry baking and reverb zones. Of all the cool features we could do with sound, all I've really wanted was semi-normal transitions between zones. You know what I mean? Like you can stand, at a place and to, lean and be in the outside audio. All this and there's no transition. Staircases, that's the kind of stuff we've always wanted. He talked about some of the cool stuff like sound diffraction and geometry baking. That's the kind of stuff that like I do want in the game because of what we talked about before, where like that's the stuff that deals with the ATM that we talked about, where it's like that's how the game knows that this is something the sound would wrap around and the ATM would functionally not occlude any audio from me.
Yeah.
Different reverb zones. That's cool. They showed the interchange pictures. They talked about some future features they want to do, adding suppressor durability and suppressor sounds changing over time, and actually having the subsonic ammo be a different, which would be cool. But ultimately, I left the audio section of this podcast very like, almost like middle finger, like. I'll believe it when I see it. Not even that, but like, not even just I'll believe it when I see it, but like shut up and just make it. Because like they showed the cool interchange thing. And in my head, I'm like, that means one of two things. That means either you had a graph that looked just like that for Shoreline before you pushed this patch out last week and it still sucks dick. Or you didn't do any of that for Shoreline, but you put a patch out for Shoreline, and Shoreline audio still sucks. So I'm like confused. You know what I mean?
About where you talking about all the boxes, the colored boxes? No, I think that's the way it is now, and that's why it's so shitty. Yeah, because you're constantly going in between. Yeah, there's an occlusion box for the fucking ATM.
Yeah.
It should just ignore it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make a box for indoors, make a box for outdoors, and have them blend, and you're like literally.
Yeah. So I don't know. So I left the audio thing very much so like just feeling burned. Like, yes, of course, I would love subsonic ammo to change and suppressors and the reverb zones, and I would love that stuff. But I just like I'm still just so almost like deeply offended at how bad the audio's been this patch, and like how
now you know how I feel about everything else.
The status that they've shipped it in, that I'm just like I can't even think about it. They talked about Streets. They talked about how it's a third of the size they want it to be. They said the first expansion of Streets is almost done. I'm very firmly in the camp of like, we don't need new content. We don't need to do this. We don't need to do this. Fix the game. But I'm a sucker for anything Streets. I love that map so damn much that I'm like, that's the one breakthrough. I'm like, hell yeah, Streets expansion. I love that map so much. They talked about the BTR that's coming, and he said that they could do a whole podcast about that, which is just interesting. That makes me wonder. He talked about the Streets boss that lives in the car dealership. I don't know if he means Lexos, because that's where Gluhar spawns. I don't know if they're going to change Lexos up a bit.
Wait, isn't Lexos the car dealership?
But that's what I'm saying. So like that Lexos is where Gluhar spawns right now, but they keep saying that this boss that's coming is in a car dealership. It wouldn't be crazy for there to be 2 car dealerships in a metropolitan area like that. Normally there's a strip and there's 11 of them, you know what I mean? So like maybe there's a different one that's more like
Surabu.
Yes, Surabu. Yes, Surabu. The Yotota trucks are everywhere. A Yotota dealership would be great.
True. Yeah.
And he's still talking about the boss there that has the boss, his guards, mines, traps, snipers, all that kind of stuff.
More ways to get cucked by their
More ways to get cucked. Yeah. And then they showed off the vaulting. I'm interested to hear what you have, because I know that's something you bolded. You were like, vaulting.
I mean, I don't know exactly what I said. I should pull up fucking Pog GPT.
Oh, yeah, Pogcast.
I don't know exactly what I said, but I'm just going to go ahead and assume that I said it like without any caveats whatsoever. I was wrong about vaulting. I basically was like, it's never going to happen. I recall, maybe I thought it, but I'm pretty sure I said like, it's never going to happen.
I think,
it's never going to happen. It was way better than I thought.
Same.
And Nikita like
didn't want to show it at all.
He didn't want to show it because it had the jank ass fucking the normal Tarkov, like you kind of like
and then the feet don't always touch the ground. They're floating a few inches. Yeah.
So like, but yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it looked cool. The only thing that matters is how it feels.
Yes.
And if it's fucking buggy, that's ultimately what matters, right? Like, it can be super cool, but if it's like the worst thing ever, or if you're constantly jumping when you mean to vault, or vaulting when you mean to jump, like what they really would need, which is something that they've never had before, but a lot of other games really do well, is like if you look at vaulting in Modern Warfare 2, it's like no matter what angle you're at, no matter what direction you're with speed, you get in a certain point where you're like within vaulting range.
Yes. And a jump is just going to be a vault.
It just works.
Yeah.
The animation works. It's seamless. You keep going in the direct. I have a feeling that Tarkov's going to be like, you need to be like at a right angle to the thing and right next to it, and you need to look at the door jamb, the 3 pixels of the door jamb.
Or like if you're holding W and you get the angle and you hit space, you'll vault and you'll stop and you'll have to let go of W and hit W again to continue moving. Like that's something I could see. Like we need to be able to keep momentum if we're going to vault is a thing too.
Yeah, it needs to feel fucking smooth and fluid, and it's honestly something that Tarkov has never really done well.
Yeah. I will say, though, that I agree with you that, like, he didn't want to show it, and when he agreed to, I was like, if Nikita doesn't want to show it, it's going to be bad. And I thought it looked good. Like I thought it looked like exactly like the way you put it. It wasn't any more janky than the current movement in Tarkov. So I don't know why he was like scared to show it. It was janky, but like the movement in Tarkov was janky. And what I liked about it was that it didn't feel like an unnecessary animation length, where like the third person camera backs up and you get into it. Like it felt like any of those vaults took the same amount of time or less time than a jump. When you jump, the time that your character, like, you know what I mean? It was just like, boom. It was just like he hopped over.
Because now you jump, you got to kind of jump, crouch, hit the window. You're kind of stuck in a little slow crouch, and then you fall through it. Yeah.
So that was a good thing.
I'm asking Podcast GPT. Did Veritas say vaulting would ever come to the game? It'll know.
Yeah. So the vaulting looked, in my opinion, good. They had good clips, in my opinion, of showing useful cases for it. The first clip, they just like hopped up on a thing and then he used it as cover to shoot. The second clip was the dude on Custom's crack house, like vaulting out of a window, where I was like, damn, that would be super handy, like in a fight, you know what I mean? Instead of having to do the jump, sideways, crouch, slow walk out the window, drop down, I was like, damn, that would be nice repositioning. And then the third clip was a dude on streets vaulting over a fence. And I was like, all of that would be extremely helpful to me playing these maps, you know what I mean? So the only thing that I wanted was I just need to know if I'm gonna be able to walk over a ledge, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's that I just need to know if I'm gonna be able to walk over a curb. Now, in the third clip that they played, I have it up. I'm coping so hard. On the third clip that they played, he vaults up onto a box, and in front of that box are the blue barrels, water barrels, that are slightly higher than the box. And he actually walks up them, but without vaulting again. And there have definitely been curbs that size that I haven't been able to jump over. So what they might have done...
They might have added some procedural animations where you walk until your footstep is going to... I've actually been looking into this. Your footstep is going to be on the sidewalk or whatever, so they increase it. So, you know, it's like you just end up stepping up.
What I want for that stuff too, like when I say I'm walking over curbs, I don't want there to be an animation for me walking over the curb. I want basically the invisible geometry of the map that there's like a ramp up to the curb. I don't want the flow to break it all. I just want to be able to walk up it. I just want it to be magic.
You should be like
exactly
this. I mean I'll send you some links. There are some really cool procedural animation things where like you have a spider that has like 4 legs, and as the spider's moving, there's just like ramps and boxes, and it's like leg. But if you see the torso's like but it's just moving smoothly, and all the legs are just going up onto like that's the way it should be. Like if you're walking forward, you should have a little up, but your legs
just keep stride. Yeah. So what I'm hoping is that that's how they did it. There's an animation for vaulting into, on top of, or out of a thing, but what they've also done is changed whatever that is to just make it so the little things I can just step over. I can just walk up to and step over. Because that's, we just need that. So hoping, but in general, I agree that the vaulting was better than I anticipated, which is pretty cool. They showed a brief section of the reworked trader menu. I'm so interested to hear what you thought about that, because it was so ugly and I didn't care because it was ugly, but it was going to save me clicks. And so I was like, that's all I want.
I couldn't look at it for very long. I couldn't even tell you what it looks like.
All the traders were in a row up at the top.
I think that's cool. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's streamlined. Like that's cool. But like, once again, for all we know, it might be the same amount of clicks with like a slicker UI. Like, but they add like, who knows?
Well, no, because of what they showed.
I think it's going to be better.
Yeah, because of what they showed. Like, for instance, you can, right now, if I want to cycle through the tasks I have for each trader, I have to click proper and then tasks and then scroll and then escape and then therapist and then tasks and then scroll and then escape. He literally showed you can just click tasks.
It's one,
and then just click
definitely going to be
the
better.
trader, and then that same thing functions for buy and sell. If I want to sell stuff, it's trader, then I click sell, then I sell my items, and then escape. You just click sell, and you can bounce around to the traders. So like trillions of clicks will be saved. You know, in the arms of the angel, trillions of clicks will be saved due to this. So it's like, it's kind of clunky, and like the little model of the character up in the top right kind of looked like GoldenEye N64 graphics for some reason to me.
It looks like a mobile game.
Yeah,
like,
but
whatever.
I truly didn't care because it's gonna save so many clicks, dude. It's gonna be, there's just so much more, and then the services tab too, where like you can get to Ragman service. So it's just like,
and you know what the worst part though there is that so much of their UI, and this is you never want to do this. I guarantee you, so much of the UI is hamstrung, whatever, by the way their back end is designed.
Yeah.
Because everything needs to get sent in batches.
Yeah.
Like when you're moving stuff on your inventory, all of that is getting put in a queue where it's like they move this item to these squares, this item rotated to these squares, this item, and then like every so often it's like bloop, send it all to the server, and that's why you get the item move error.
Yeah.
Because one of those things didn't synchronize, and it's like undo
the whole
all
batch
of the things.
is corrupted.
Like playing Diablo 4, the beta, which I cannot fucking wait. Oh my god, it was so good. But you just have your inventory, and it's like right click, sell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just let me sell everything individually.
Yeah.
But because of like, I guarantee when they did the buy sell API, they were like, sell has to take an array of items, and you know, like you can't do all of these individual things because it'd probably be so fucking expensive and time consuming. And but man, it would just be better.
Dude, I didn't notice this until I started watching it back just now.
Where do you look? Do you have like a link you can?
I don't have a link. I literally I have OBS replay buffers.
Oh, okay.
Of each, because I would. That's how I did it, and then put it in my video thing. But what I can do really quickly is send you this screenshot. But basically, what I'm saying is that what I didn't notice until just now is that in the trader menu, the button deal to like sell your thing has a keybind now. It's the space bar. So you can like click space, and it sells everything. Click space. Like you can do it in batches, or you can just like, I think that's kind of cool. I didn't notice that until just now.
Yeah, it's, oh man, it's, again, it's like, that's neat, but why can't they just sell the individual things? I mean, like maybe I guess maybe because you could argue because you might accidentally click something you didn't want to sell, but like they didn't think about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
They were just like, we have this thing where we have a screen where everything gets put on separate tabs, and they have to be separate tabs, and it'd be cool if there was a thing. And rather than saying, what's the best way to do this?
Yeah,
they say, how could we make what we have
better,
suck less, or be better?
Yeah. That's
it's good. It's just
but the sentiment there, I understand, where it's like it didn't. Yeah, it doesn't look like they went from a like, what's the best trader menu we could
They're putting lipstick on a pig. Is what they're doing.
I get it, but I'm like, damn, I'm just like so excited because like there's just gonna be so many clicks saved. Traversing the menus is just gonna be so much better.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And then the other big thing, loadout presets. And the.
Oh yeah. Can you also screenshot that?
I can screenshot that. Yeah.
I didn't look at them for very long. Oh, you know why? Because watching the VOD, I didn't watch it live. Watching the VOD, every time I paused it and then hit play, I would have to watch another fucking 5 minutes of ads.
Oh yeah.
Dude, if you play the video for 2 seconds, pause it, and then hit play, 5 minutes of ads.
That's crazy.
Then you watch 2 seconds of it, hit pause, and then you talk about that for a little bit and hit play, 5 minutes of ads.
Yeah.
So I went and bought fucking Twitch Turbo literally just because I was fucking so triggered by that and looking through the cheater VODs. I was sick of watching ads. I don't want to give these fucking clowns any ad revenue going through their VODs. Well, actually, I mean, I still think they get ad revenue, but I don't want to have to sit through
a bunch of ads,
all that shit while I'm trying to.
So that was the gear presets was an interesting thing as well, because I found it pretty interesting that it shows up that where like you can name your preset. It looks like you can actually save the cosmetics to your presets as well, which I just thought was like a not important, but like a cool, nice touch. It shows like,
I wonder what the whole like by missing, like what does that flow look like?
Yeah, exactly. That's my bit. Yeah. So the cool things is I like the general layout of it. I like that you get to see what your PMC looks like. I like that there's the tab at the top, there's gear and then pockets. Cause like he has an MMAC rig, but you can't see what's inside it. So there's a tab then for what's inside of the stuff, what's on my pockets, what's inside my rig, where are those things placed? There's a tab up there. That's cool.
It's only that way because for some reason they decided to take up a third of the screen with the look of your PMC, which is largely irrelevant, and a third of your screen with a terrible fucking drop down expand
of
menu.
Like the flea market. Yeah.
So now you need tabs.
Yeah.
Because of they fucking are terrible with efficient. Yeah.
But the big thing here, which is no surprise because we've talked about it before, the big thing here is just how do I get this stuff? And how does it interact with the other systems in the game? For example, the gun. If I'm in a gear preset creator and what I want to add to that preset is a gun preset, do I have to remake the preset in the other preset editor and save it? Can I just add
right-click the gun,
the preset? And when I click buy, is it going to do an efficient job? Like one of the things that I get frustrated about right now is that if I have a Voodoo in a JP Enterprises mount in my stash, and then I build a preset with a Voodoo in the Night Force 30mm ring mount. When I click buy, it's going to buy a Voodoo because it says I don't have one because the Voodoo is nested in the JP Enterprises mount, but I have a Voodoo. So I take all my scopes out of their mounts because I don't want to end up buying another one. So like this is just adding another layer of that, of like you have things, but what if I have an MMAC that has stuff in it already? Is it going to ignore that MMAC and buy another one, or is it going to take the stuff out of the MMAC and put it at the top of my stash? If I have a gun that's close to the preset,
do you remember? Oh, no, sorry, go ahead.
What I was going to say was like, I'm not preemptively mad about these things because we wanted a gear set system and we knew that these were going to be questions they had to answer. So I'm glad we're getting a preset system. I'm just, now that the rubber's hitting the road, I'm terrified of how all these systems are going to work together. You know what I mean?
Do you remember the one that I proposed like 2 years ago?
Not exactly.
It was your normal inventory screen, except above your character there was a save preset.
Yeah.
And load preset.
Yeah.
Look at what we have here.
Yeah.
We have your inventory just less efficiently displayed.
Yeah. Well, if you click, I wonder if you click inventory, that is the same size of your inventory.
Right, but you presumably have to click presets to like get here.
Yeah, to get here. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's just like I just don't understand what's the benefit of
its own. This is obviously
all they needed to do.
Yeah, just add a save button.
Add a save button to the existing UI, literally in the existing stash. It was above like the helmet slot on the upper left was save loadout, and then load, and then was load, and then I mean you could have a tab for items that I don't know, like maybe there's a reason for this.
It's interesting because this is so close to the regular UI. Instead of your character, what's in the middle goes on the left. What's normally in the middle is what's in your pockets and rigs and backpack. And what's on the right is your inventory. So it's interesting that they changed that around to visually show. But yeah, the UI
I guess the benefit of this is that you can go in and design a bunch of loadouts for a bunch of shit you don't have.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
but now you have potentially the complications of like what happens when you have half of that shit.
Multiple
How does it go
systems
ahead buying it?
interacting with
does
each
it
other.
automatically equip it? What happens when your character right now has the helmet that you want, the Fast MT, but it's got the full visor rather than the half visor.
Exactly.
And you go to hit load preset. What happens to the Fast MT and the visor?
Yep.
There's no way, and I hope I'm wrong, there's no way it's not going to be you buy a bunch of fucking duplicates or a bunch of errors.
And then there's like there's existing bugs we have in the game that I know will conflict with this if they don't address them. For instance, in the preset system, it accounts for what trader level you have. If there's something that's only sold at level 4 Jaeger and I want to put that on my preset and I go to buy it, it will buy it. It will buy it from level 4 Jaeger. But what it won't do is if there's an item that's level 4 Jaeger, but also required a quest to unlock that item, in the preset system, that item, it'll default to buying it off the flea because it doesn't do a check. Because like standard level 4 Jaeger is that it doesn't have this item and it doesn't do a check to see if so like that's a bug that's in the game right now. So like this is going to affect it. You know what I mean? So it's like,
and there's a flea market button. What does that just pop up? A pop up over the top. That's the flea market pop up.
I don't know. I don't know.
Stuff and it goes into your inventory.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's why like the way that I designed it was if you want a preset, buy everything for the preset, put it on your character, and just hit save.
Yeah. But the issue is still, then I die and I want to load that preset. I hit load on your thing and it loads it. All of my concerns come after that point, and I click buy. Like load me up with this preset again. All my concerns are, well, how is it handling what I have in my inventory, what I have available from traders, the trader.
The only way it can do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
so those are,
and
like,
part of that.
Definitely not saying the UI couldn't be better, but all of my concerns for the system happen post UI. No matter what the UI is, when I click put this preset on my character, that's where all my concerns come, because we already have so many bugs involved with the gun preset system, with the traders, with the, if you try and buy something on the flea market right as the traders reset, it says that they're out of stock. Even if it was in stock when before the trader reset and after, if you do it right when the trader reset, it says it's out of stock, and you can refresh and it'll never refresh. You have to completely go back out to the menu, then rebuild the gun. So it's just like, there's so many bugs we have already and so many bugs that could happen.
Ignoring the bugs, what you're talking about is like a design challenge where it's like, at some point they have to make the decision.
Yeah.
You can't please everybody. There are some people that want to buy a new voodoo.
Yeah,
because they don't. I already have that gun in there. I'm saving that for later.
True.
Don't take the voodoo off of that.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
So there would be people that would be pissed that you just took apart their gun that they were saving for gunsmith that they put in their case.
That's
you know
also
what I mean?
true. That's also true.
So you have to make, it's like when you design these things, you have to basically come up with these are the rules. Let's try to do it in the way that we think is the most common, the most reasonable, which is why mine was, it just made a bunch of assumptions, and like that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah. It has to.
When people are like, I wish when you hit sort, it did this, and people are like, well, I'd rather it do this, and I'd rather it do this. Well, why don't you just add 957 drop down and check boxes? And it's like, well, now it's just as complicated as if you did it manually.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So you can't please everybody.
Yeah.
But we need to obviously, like,
find the sweet spot.
The thing is that they don't even think about any of those things. They implement it without thinking about any of the edge cases, and then shit's half broken and half thought through.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, loadout preset system. Once again, I'm not excited about it. It's something we've been asking for years. I'm excited about it, and I'm glad they're working on it. But it just scares me just knowing how a lot of these things already interact, making that more complicated. Woof.
All that matters is that there's less clicks.
Yeah.
If there's less clicks and less errors, it's
a
better
win.
than what we have.
Yeah, true.
Ultimately, because I don't think we're ever going to get like perfect flawless systems.
Yeah.
They'll never just do the way that I implemented it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because that would be too easy and also would be too good.
Too beneficial. They showed a screen of a new like kind of party system showing like if your friends are online or offline. It was like a little tease. There was like a badge for somebody that was in the arena or like had arena access. It was kind of cool. Nothing crazy. They showed some new guns. They showed, I don't remember what it was called, but it was like
a new AK. Sick, dude. I'm so stoked.
Dude, the AK-12s are sick. They showed like a submachine gun that was chambered in what the Val and VSS are chambered in. Now by 39, I think. I love SMGs so much, so I thought that was kind of cool. The AVT, which I have seen before, but I don't really know what it is. The underbarrel grenade launcher, finally being able to put on the SCAR. We've had the SCAR, and we've had the underbarrel grenade launcher that fits on the SCAR in-game for a while, and they showed that happening, so that's kind of cool. And then they showed off a new sniper rifle, the VSK. Never heard of it. Looked dope. Don't know what it shoots. Oh, they said 7.62x54R, so Mosin rounds.
It was a full auto Mosin.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Which is like...
He called it a sniper rifle, but then he said it was full auto.
Isn't it like the SVD?
I don't know. VSK sniper rifle is a Russian bullpup, straight pull bolt action, magazine fed. Oh wait, that's a different one. That's 12. That's 7 by not, 55.
Yeah, that's not no. So that looks like the precursor to the Val kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the one that was literally like, I think it's the SVT, which is basically like the SVD in other games, I think.
Oh, this is it. Yeah. This is it. The VSK 94.
Oh wait.
But that shows that as chambered in 9 by 39.
Oh yeah, I guess I don't know. We're talking about two different.
That
things.
picture looks exactly like the picture they showed. I don't know. Maybe they're making it up. Or maybe I probably just the AVT is the 7.62 one. Okay, and the SVT is the 9 by 39 one. Maybe I just messed up my note taking on the guns.
There's one that's like the kind of the precursor to the Val.
Yes.
The VSS kind of thing, but then the AVT is like the SVT.
Yeah,
which, like,
yeah.
In most of the World War II games, I'm literally picturing it with a fucking bayonet on it, like the last time I used that gun. And historically, like in those games, they tend to be like big caliber semi-auto.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is full auto, just like the Mini 14, M14 kind of thing is in real life. It can be full auto, but yeah.
So new guns. Cool. Once again, I don't think anybody at this point is like elated about guns anymore.
I mean, I'd love to see how busted the recoil. Like, given the way the game feels right now, they'll be unfireable. I predict, but
yeah.
We'll see.
They talked about the custom armor plates. Now, this was really interesting stuff as well, because this is something that they've broken up into multiple features, and a lot of people have gotten confused because they think that all these features are the same thing. So there's 3 features when they've talked about this before. There's customizable rigs, which is your ability to just take a black rock and say, I want 1x3s instead of 1x2s. Yeah, I want to be able to put 40 round mags in a black rock. As I understood it from the podcast, that feature has been indefinitely postponed. They said we'd love to get to it in a DLC, which in my opinion is a W, because there are so many rigs in the game. Of course, I think it would be cool to be able to customize them, but like,
yeah, but who fucking cares?
Who cares? You know what I mean?
I die before I open up my rig or before I reload a fucking magazine, so it's irrelevant to me.
Of course, I would love that, but like, I think that was a good thing. The other 2 parts of this equation that are coming are the advanced hitboxes, which mean you could get hit in the armpit and take flesh damage because your armor doesn't cover it. That I'm 50-50 on because I think it would be cool, but I'm just very concerned, especially with all the blunt damage and collateral stuff that we deal with right now. I feel like I'm just going to get...
It's more bugs, more shit that's going to be...
It's already hard enough to justify good armor.
Yeah, it's hard. It's too hard to know how things work, why they work, why we died. Yeah. Now it's just going to be, there's going to be 100 more explanations as to why you got one-tapped with the caliber you didn't expect to be one-tapped, through the armor you didn't expect to be one-tapped.
Yeah.
It's going to be fraught with bugs. It's just way more complicated than it needs to be, and it just got 10 times more complicated, and in my opinion, it needs to be 50 times
less
more simple.
complicated. Yeah.
So
And then the third part of it is the custom plates. So what they showed was like, we have a Gazelle, and in this instance, there's a plate in the front and a plate in the back. So like us being able to say this Gazelle is busted, and then get back to my stash and just take the plates out and put other plates in. And in one of the images they showed, in this image, the plate on the back was 9.4 out of 45 durability, and the plate in the front was 45 out of 45 durability. So that completely changes how armor is. Right now, your armor gets zeroed. It doesn't matter what direction it got zeroed from. That armor's done. But if you get shot in the back and that plate gets zeroed or takes a bunch of damage, and you turn around and face that opponent, you've basically turned around and reset the fight, because now my armor is good again and I've faced them. So
I'm worried that rather than the Gazelle being like, 80,000 rubles, it's going to be the Gazelle container is 40,000 rubles.
Yeah,
the front
and the
plate
plates.
is 30,000,
Yeah.
and the back plate is 30,000. So now, I just feel like everything's going to be more expensive.
No, for sure.
Because
that's the question: is like, what is the economy around that? Can I put whatever plates I want in them? Can I find a slick and take those plates out and put them in something else? Like, how much are those plates? Who sells them? Are they found in raid?
you take all the class 6 plates and put them in like the fucking level 1 armor.
The P.A.C.A., dude. Yeah.
Like put all of us. Yeah, that'd be fucking.
That'd be hilarious. But once interesting stuff around like imagine a labs raid where
some of them. I mean, it depends on which are plate. Like some of them are plate carriers, some of them are not plate carriers.
Yeah. But like imagine a labs raid where you're like, instead of taking armors and stuff off raiders, you're taking plates out. And like you can get more out or something like that. Like that would be kind of cool. Or you have your stuff set up the way you want and you kill an enemy and you can take the plates out of his rig.
That's like Call of Duty.
Wait, but that's also how it works.
But it's also like real life.
Yeah, that's also how it works. I did a video with Brownells about the plates and we held up a bunch of them. They look like that. That's not a video like.
And it's Call of Duty.
Yeah, man, whatever. Anyways. What was I going to say? Oh, the big question is, can you hot swap plates in raid? And I'm conflicted on this because
I fucking hope so.
I'm conflicted because like just the it's going to be the visor meta, the Alton visor meta. It's just going to be bring in a thing and 6 extra class 6 plates. And if I shoot at a guy and he gets behind the door and I push him, he's already swapped out to his plate. He's not hurting anymore. Boom. But on the flip side of that is if the raids get longer and we want to stay in those raids longer and we have bigger maps, I would love that. I would love the ability to reset myself and find more meds, find more ammo, find more plates, and stay in the raid. So that's interesting. That's interesting to me.
I mean, every time I ever went in with a wrist T and I brought a second face mask, I died of a stomach shot.
I've never worn a wrist T and not died to Magnum Buck to the stomach or to the legs.
Yeah, no. So I would love it if that was the problem, that people were bringing in a bunch of extra things and living long. Like,
yeah,
I'd be fine if that's the thing, right? The problem is that becomes the meta. Everybody does it, but only 2% of the fucking people actually like
pull off the swap.
Yeah, it's like you have to run 995 in order to compete, but you never shoot a bullet of it because you're dead before you get to shoot it. So it just means everybody's broke except for, the people that play in one particular way.
I hadn't thought about this, but literally somebody said in chat fixes the whole thing for me. Swapping plates should be an animation as long as the CMS. Maybe not verbatim to that, but if it's
Take it off.
As long as it's not control click, and like literally 1 second, I could be pushing you and you could do it mid fight. You know what I mean? Like, but an animation, a 10-second animation, a 7-second animation means like similar to a CMS, right? Because you could have made the argument. That's actually a really good point. Because you could have made the argument that the CMS was OP if you could just drag, like the old healing system where you just drag over something and it insta heal. Well, of course, if you were fixing black limbs that quickly, but what makes the CMS a great addition to the game is it extends your value in raid, but you have to make decisions. Mid-fight, you might want a CMS, but you retreat. You know what I mean? So like, so if it was an animation, if it was a 7, 8, 9, 10-second animation to swap out your plates, I'm cool with it. That would actually be sick because it gives me a reason to stay in the raid longer. And I'm down with that. You know what I mean? I'm totally down with that. So the plates, cool. I thought that was cool. I'm glad that they're cutting the custom rig features. Would love it eventually, but I think the custom plate's kind of cool. Hideout stuff, they showed some animations that they made for like each of the little things. That's cool. And then they talked about how they teased in the very first thing they did, the trailer for the dynamic loot, the screensaver, or sorry, the background image of the PC that guy was on was a screenshot of Tarkov in the hideout, and there was like a weapons stand, and you could like put weapons and like display them on your hideout. So
I missed that. Wait.
Yeah.
Is that on YouTube?
Yeah. Well, whatever that little thing is, wherever that little trailer is, I don't know if they put that up there. Now, not that really does anything. It's just that it just displays. Here, I'll send you a screenshot. Whoops. Not that really does anything, right? It's just like, that's kind of cool too.
Well, yeah, see, like that was originally when I was doing my shorts, like quality of life shorts, I had like all of your presets would be mounted on the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I literally just looked at that and skipped past it because I just thought it was
because that's not like in game. Because it's not in game.
Well, no, it's just because it looks like it's a gray square. I thought that was just another window behind the window.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was a wall. But yeah, like I think you should be able to have all of your presets. They should show on the wall.
Yeah, that would be
cool. Able to walk up on your hideout and just be like, click build, and it would just buy everything and assemble it right away.
And I don't know if that's like extra storage if you add the weapon stand to your hideout, because it looks like from this UI, his inventory is open, his stash is open, so it looks like he's taking a gun from his inventory and putting it in on his weapon stand. So I don't know if it's just saying I want this weapon displayed on the stand, or if it's actually like physicalized extra space for guns. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Huh. It's like a separate container.
Yeah, that you like that you go via the hideout as opposed to buying one from Therapist. You like upgrade this thing, and you can upgrade that to maybe a few different sizes and put some weapons in there. I don't know. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like,
your stash should just be for all the fucking junk. I mean, eventually they could definitely make it so that like your stash. Oh, I'm now thinking about it like those games like even Minecraft or Rust or whatever, where it's like you have a box for like one type of map, a box for another type. So you're like, walk over here, drop a couple things in. What, like as long as you can click through things quickly, it's not like the worst in the world to be like, let me take. You end up doing a bunch of like, let me move this gun over to here and let me put this over here and whatever. But I mean, like it could be fun.
Could be fun and cool. Yeah. I agree.
It could also just be a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah, it could be made. Their argument could be made that it's like, that's stupid. Just let me buy a weapon case. Another web case. But there could be an argument that like it's a cool way to like add to the size of your stash through the hideout without just the purchasing of the extra stash size of like, you know what I mean? There's a med station too where you can like depot some meds and it's just a little bit of extra space or something. So who knows? You know what I mean? It could just be a visual thing where the stash was there to literally just say, I want this gun and this gun shown there, and you're not transferring anything. Who knows? But that I just mentioned it because that was the only other hideout related tidbit, was that little teaser in there. The other big thing is the arena. They showed a new trailer. God, the new trailer was sick. Showed off the kill cam quite a bit. I'll
watch it while you're explaining.
Yeah, it showed off the kill cam quite a bit and like that vision. It showed 4 maps. It showed the what's the game? Isn't Contract Wars the original one they did? They did one recently.
That was one of them. That was one.
Yeah, in the past few years they did another one, and it was, what was it called? There's another game. There was the browser game, which is Contract Wars, but then there's one on Steam right now that you can play that like I played when it came out. It was a thing. Hired Ops. Hired Ops. Thank you. Hired Ops.
Dude.
I remember playing Hired Ops and playing like the Woods map and being like, oh, this is cool because this is a lot like Woods. And then in the arena trailer, it was that Woods map, that like altered Woods map from Hired Ops. And I was like, yes, because I thought that map was so much fun. So like the maps are cool. Every weapon is like a weapon nobody would use, which I find to be hilarious.
Well, the first one I just saw was a P90 and there was zero recoil whatsoever.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I know the P90 is pretty good, but like this was zero recoil.
Yeah.
Like this was like a streamer streaming zero recoil cheats is what that looked like.
So hopefully, I don't know. But there's the 4 maps, which are awesome. I still am confused about a lot of things. The currency, the UI, can I build my own kit or do I have to pick one of these random things? I don't know. Confused about that. Confused about how it connects to the main game. Confused about what rubles are for. But God dang it, it just looks fun. I just want a PvP with less consequences in Tarkov. The freaking shipment map looks so sick. Oh, dude, the community.
You said there's a kill cam? Is it the thing that has like the little
little camera things. The little recording. It says like recording and it says like the teammates. Like all that stuff wouldn't be available to you while you were playing. That's definitely the kill cam.
It just looks, I guess it just looks like.
Yeah.
Like all they needed to do was record gameplay and then fucking overlay a PNG.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, now that's what a kill cam looks like.
Yeah. So I don't know, man.
That's what it was.
It looks sick. The new teaser was sick. Okay, some other things they talked about with the arena. They said they specifically talked about a new, quicker matchmaking system that will hopefully come to Tarkov after. So that's something that's something we've talked about a million times. I even saw people in chat talking about it today where it's like, I just wish that I could get into Tarkov faster. So them talking about like, because that's what we've always wanted. That's been the hopium. That's been the copium. They hired this other team. They're building this other game. They're building it based on everything they've learned from their experience. And they're going to be able to take some of that tech and implement it. That's what we've hoped. This is Nikita literally directly saying that. Calling out, we've built a new matchmaking system. It's going to be much quicker. And if it works, we're going to bring it to Tarkov. Once again, might be copium to think that would ever actually happen. I don't know what the time frame is, but it's at least an acknowledgement of another issue in Tarkov that the arena could potentially help solve. Will it happen? Dude, I don't know. But I'm glad they're talking about it. You know what I mean? I'm glad they're acknowledging that it sucks dick to wait 8 minutes to get into a raid, to die to the guy who spawns 14 feet from you. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
It's crazy. Every game you play, every game I play,
every game,
I'm amazed where I hit start and it's like matching to
dude.
Player's been found and you're fucking in the game and it's like
I've been so much more aware of how much time, like, you know, the matching bug where like it's just matching forever and you have to Alt F4. And if you don't know to Alt F4, you get stuck. I have several times gotten the matching bug, Alt F4, re-queue into the game and gotten the matching bug again. Literally. And then I thought,
I was going to say it wasn't the matching bug. It was just matching for
no,
a long time.
I got the matching bug again, Alt F4'd again, and then got right in the third time. I've had that happen. That happened to Jay the other day. Today we were playing, it was me, Airwing, and Valiant, and we were all stuck on synchronizing for players, all at different percentages. Valiant and Airwing deployed into the raid 3 minutes late. I was stuck on synchronizing, and I had to Alt F4. So they got in the raid 3 minutes late, and I got in 5 minutes after them. And so I've just been so much more aware of like how much time.
At least you didn't get spawn killed.
Yeah, no. You know what's funny about that fight? They spawned in late and immediately got into a fight with a 2-man. And they were like, Jesse, come on. We need you. Okay, and it was on streets. And it was the one by courtyard. So it's the one where you spawn, you jump out the window, and to the left is the car. And like people spawn by the car. Dude, I'm loading loot, and Velian goes, spawn in, jump out the window, and just run across the road. They'll shoot at you, and you'll know where they are. As soon as he said that, I spawned in, I jumped out the window, and I just bunny hopped across the road. The guy went, tried tracking me. Velian popped up and head tapped the guy. And I was like, what? It was hilarious, but I was like, what is this fight? I was like, we used the fact that I spawned late to win the fight. Like, that's the status.
That's Tarkov in a nutshell.
Tarkov.
use the fucking issues and flaws and problems with the game to get ahead.
To get ahead, yeah. So
it's like the United States tax system. Am I right?
Politics,
am
I right? Oh, zinger. Anyways. Matchmaking system, new, improved, faster, better, harder, stronger, coming to Tarkov. Tell me I'm coping all you want. I don't care. Bro, this was huge. Custom games. They talked about, dude, they actually like talked a decent amount about how like they're adding like a whole editor. I don't imagine like a map editor like Forge. I'm just saying like the rules and the time and how many opponents, maybe, you know what I mean? And they literally are setting it up in a way, which was a great little like nod to like Evasion and Sigma and all these little orgs. Like they were like, we want you guys to be able to run cool tournaments on your own without us. And I was like, that's awesome. So that's sick. And then he said that they're going to be running their own tournaments and stuff like that. I think that's cool, right? I think it's cool, and I'm really glad they did that. They mentioned again the obscurity of the server tick rate will be that of competitive esports titles. I don't know what that is.
Lol.
Yeah, lol. He did not give a date, which I was really, really hoping. Not like a date for arena release, but I was at least expecting that we're like gonna start beta testing it in the next month. But we didn't even get that.
Fucking lol. What? Oh god.
No, I think I don't know. But he said it was kind of weird how he said it. I don't remember what he said verbatim. He said something along the lines of like they have plans for like Tarkov and Streets and some announcements. He was like, stay tuned, we want to release it. I didn't think it was going to release next month. I thought that they were going to say it was going to start testing. Like, don't come at me like it's stupid. They said they wanted to start beta testing it in autumn. Me thinking that 8 months later is at least possible isn't insane. Anyways. So yeah, so basically all that to say there's no date for Arena. No surprise. And then they showed the Chronicles, the first episode of the second season of Chronicles of Rigi, which was very much so arena focused. It was like Rigi in the arena. And they showed off that feature that they talked about where like the two teams teamed up and didn't want to kill each other. And at a certain time frame, they like released Killa and Tagilla and a bunch of the other AI. I don't see that being an issue. The people want to play this game to kill each other. I don't see a universe where we're teaming up.
I didn't really get the impression that that's why. Like,
it's exactly
the feature's not.
Yeah,
the feature's not there for that. It's like the
anti-camp measure is. Yeah.
No. Like it's the last 60, 90 seconds of every game is when they come in, right? It's like the final circle where there's airdrop and
yeah. I don't know.
It seems to me like a kind of feature where in PUBG, you know how there was like the random bombing zones?
Yeah.
Like randomly, they're just going to come in and fucking get in the way of your gameplay. I don't think it's there to change. It doesn't make any sense.
They've talked about how it's there to like if a round doesn't end quick enough, that towards the end of it, it's like to get people moving around and like they can't just like sit in one spot. It's like yeah, I don't think
that's like brain dead. Make the timer go to 0 and you fucking lose. I don't understand what.
I don't know. So yeah.
Okay.
Once again, still exactly as many questions as before as to like how the currency works, what the connections are between Escape from Tarkov and Arena. Am I going to be able to farm 700 million rubles on Streets and then just buy whatever I want in Arena and steamroll anybody? Like I don't. Nobody answers that questions. We don't know. But the trailer was sick, and we all want it. We just want Arena.
I'd rather than build it rather than act in it, but you know.
Wait, what?
I'd rather than build it than fucking act in it. Check W.
Heyo. And then we can just bullet point through a bunch of the miscellaneous stuff he said throughout the podcast that didn't have like big conversations. Someone asked about Recoil. He said, yes, we want to redo Recoil, and we already have documentation and a plan. But he's like, it's still not finalized because he was like, I still kind of like the Recoil, which just blows. He made it
a point to point out that he likes the Recoil, and it's like,
which I don't understand because he shoots guns so much.
I don't know. He just doesn't.
I don't understand. I want to ask him.
he probably only uses like mid to high tier modded AKs, like, and shoots single shot. I don't know.
But that's what
There's
I'm
no way he
saying.
can,
Like that. There's no
Yeah.
way he can grab an AK in the game and shoot it and it goes boom and be like, I like that. When he's at the range and he's like, bop, 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 and I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I don't know. Recoil. They said they want to change it. Freaking who knows, man. They showed off the new blind fire animations, which was pretty interesting because it looked like.
all I want to know is can you fucking
I
move?
know. Same. That was my first question too. The animations look much better because it actually looks like you're going to be able to reach around cover. Blind fire right now is like a 45-degree angle. You have to like look like it's really actually hard to get it over top of something. And this looked like much better horizontal and vertical. I completely agree. Please let us move while doing it. Who knows? Dude, rapid fire stuff that I'm super excited about. We're going to be able to set our own priority for what we want healed. We've talked about that before. We're going to be able to toggle helmet lights. That's there's not really a reason to use those. We're going to be able to double click consumables and use them. Yes, dude. I want that so bad. I throw my golden star on the ground all the time. And in Marauders, they did it perfect. You just open your inventory, you double click, and it uses the medical item or the drink or whatever. I'm super excited about that.
You like miss the use and you like.
Yeah, you right click.
Discard?
Yeah, and I'm trying to do it fast because I'm going to fight and I accidentally click discard and I just throw my golden star on the ground or whatever. So I think that's awesome. Double click to use. And quick swap to sidearm. He said it's coming too. So very excited about that. That's
You mean the feature that they already have
in the game? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That,
That's
something Clean has been telling Nikita forever now. Just make that the fucking default, dude.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I've been saying that since they added that. Yeah. He said something about a new ammo loading station, and I think Nice Guy reached something about new ammo loading, and I think Nice Guy reached out for clarification. It's not ammo loading animations in raid. It's like a hideout thing.
Probably so that you can like alternate bullets in your mag or like put tracers in the last three.
Maybe.
Or something.
I don't know. I don't want to judge it because I don't know what it meant, but I got excited because I thought it meant like mag loading animation so I can look around while I'm loading my mag, but it's not that. So Sag. The ability to manually change the brightness of scopes, which is nice for night vision. Reworking UI quests.
Oh, the reticles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, reworking UI quests, skills, stuff like that. He blew by this really quick, but he said bipods and weapon mounting. In my head, the Call of Duty weapon mounting system is flawless, right? Being able to just like, it's sick. So that would be, but that's not my
could be dog
yeah, that's
shit.
not my
We'll
expectation at all. But yeah, we'll have to see. New Lightkeeper stuff he wants to keep secret, and then he talked for a little bit about how they're cutting features. Because Nice Guy had recently done a video basically where he laid out everything that's ever been spoken at any point. And Nice Guy was like, I'm not saying all these are coming to the game, but this is like, here's everything that they've ever talked about. And then Nikita referenced it and was like, he made that video. We're not keeping all that stuff, which is very obvious and understandable. So,
So really, really, really quick, because I just see a bunch of people in chat talking about this.
yeah.
When I built Battle Buddy back in the day, and I was doing a whole bunch of testing with my like simulation, I actually did a ton of testing, alternating like I asked a bunch of people for like, if they'd want to see, like armor pen bullet, flesh damage bullet, armor pen bullet, or if it was like 3 armor pen, 3 flesh. And I will tell you that 98% of the time to kill was identical.
Yeah.
So like you think you're going to be clever with your meta shit, and it's a giant fucking waste of time. The only thing that's meaningful to me is using tracers to indicate either you want tracers every other bullet or to indicate the end of a mag. That's what's useful, not like changing up some cool pattern between flesh damage and between it's
the only other thing that has a use case is because of the stupid recoil, and it's if you like, because 90% of the recoil you're going to feel throughout the entire mag is in the first 5 bullets, you can top load the recoil reduction mag. So like in a P90 SB193 is minus 22 recoil, and then you could go the other 40 rounds with SS190, which has higher pen. I've seen people do that, and it's too much work for me to be bothered doing it, but that can make a little bit of a difference. But yeah, the TTK is largely exactly the same. Yeah.
In a realistic like simulation where a decent chunk of the bullets hit the left arm, then the right arm, then the chest, then the stomach, then the left arm, then the left arm, then the right arm, then the left arm pins into the chest, then hits the stomach.
Or like you do that 5 raids in a row and you end up blowing all of the good ammo on top on scavs, and not which ammo do you bring to top load if you shot the good ammo and you killed a bunch of scavs and then you don't have the good ammo, then you're top loading with the bad ammo anyway and you spend all that time. So I agree.
It just ultimately averages out.
Yeah, more options, more better. I'm not saying I'm mad. And they didn't even say that that's what the feature was for. We don't know what the feature is for. I would imagine it'd be something like that, but yeah. Excuse me. But that was the podcast. That was the Tarkov TV Live. Yep. Call me a shill. Call me a copium addict or optimistic or whatever. I just thought it was like the best podcast we ever had. They spent more time talking about the things that we mauled about on this podcast than in any other podcast ever. It was much more transparent than they normally are. Normally the answers we get are literally just, we know and we're working on it, LOL. For 5 years, we've been asking about the desync, and they've said we know we're working about it, and then they actually showed us stuff. Oh, someone in chat mentioned something. I forgot. One of the just miscellaneous things that he confirmed is still coming is shoulder switching, which I was wondering if that was going to get cut, and he talked about that being still a thing. So I think that's dope. I want that really, really bad. So that's cool. So yeah, so I thought it was good. It's all falls under the umbrella of I'll believe it when I see it. But if, I guess to say it this way, if you asked me to create a list of things that I'd want to see done in 2023 for Tarkov, it's the stuff they talked about in the podcast. So we'll see if they get it done. You know, Streets was next wipe for literally 3 years. So that doesn't mean it's coming this month, but at least they're talking about the stuff that we want and that we've said we want and that we've said is like the most broken things.
Yeah, their priorities are
finally kind of in line with the players.
If Nikita would just come down to fucking off of Jupiter with his opinions on recoil, then I think we'd probably be pretty much 1 for 1.
Yeah. So true, though. So true. So yeah. So that's it. That's the podcast. Interesting stuff. We'll see what happens over the next, friggin' weeks, months. We're already halfway through April. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about.
Nope.
There's some stuff we can talk about next week. Just like some PvP related thoughts that I had, but we're already at 2.5 hours. People have been saying they've been like loving the longer ones, which I find hilarious, and we just keep going longer, so I don't care. I love it.
It's common to love the longer ones.
The longer ones are normally more satisfying.
I've got nothing. I'm feeling comfortable.
So yeah, this will be live on Monday. It's Thursday. Thank you guys for hanging. Thanks for checking out the episodes. Super excited for hopefully the future of this game and Magic the Gathering and Diablo 4 if these patches suck. So yep. So yeah, thank you guys for hanging, and we will definitely see y'all on the next one.
Peace.